Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is L. Lauren, and I am the author of the story you're about to listen to. I don't know where you guys are, but we're having peak cuddle weather. It's been in the it's been in the 30s Fahrenheit or single digits for Celsius, and I feel like that's good enough to start releasing holiday themed stories. Anyway, this first one is a short little Christmas series I did a few years ago. I forget the name of the series, but the title is A Christmas Miracle. I also don't remember the tropes. I know it's interracial, I know it's Christmas themed, and the rest is a surprise to you and me both. I wrote this one on my own, so this is an original cut, not a clean edit. And as we've talked about, if YouTube kicks up a fuss, I might be in timeout for 2 weeks. If that happens, everything is sweet and clean, like Amish type romance until further notice. But hopefully we'll be fine. Like we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. They'll leave me alone. Um, anyway, that's all I have. I'm tired, so I'm not editing this for like my flubs. I'm just like exhausted. So anyway, that's it for me, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And yeah, happy like winter season.
A Christmas Miracle. L. Lauren. Jabari. Jabari Jones collapsed on his bed after stuffing the last of his winter clothes in a hard-sided suitcase. He wiped his brow and ran his fingers over the top of his head. "Yeah, Mom. I'll be home super late tonight. Will you have Daddy come pick me up?" "Sure, baby. What time is your flight getting in?" "Oh, should be like 11 tonight. It's getting in pretty late because that was the best price, you know?" "Of course. However, you know if you're tight with money, we could have helped with the ticket for you." No. Mom, I'm fine. I've got plenty of students. Things are going great, actually. I mean, we canceled all classes until January, so everyone could enjoy their Christmas." "Oh, okay." "Yeah." He adjusted the cell phone in the crook of his shoulder, sitting on the top of his suitcase and tugging his violin close to him. "I mean, we have our annual caroling in the park, so you know I wouldn't miss Christmas with you guys for anything in the world. I've been talking with the coordinator, and I'm definitely doing the violin this year. I love it when you play the violin, but the piano is my favorite," his mother lamented. "Noted. Well, I'll do piano next year if Mrs. Baker ever gets the one in the concert hall tuned up properly. It's so off." I thought she had it looked at years ago." "She did, Mom, but you have to tune pianos constantly. There are so many people playing it, and it so easily gets out of tune." "Ah, I didn't know." "It's okay. You're not the musician. You're the musician's awesome mother. I can't wait to see everyone for Christmas." "We can't wait to see you either. I know you need clothes, so we'll get you some of those when you get in. Have you finished all of your Christmas shopping?" "No, Mom. It's too complicated trying to travel with all the presents. It's easier to get everything in town. And I have some things I ordered online coming in as well." Sure. Well, you know all the really good sales are right after Christmas anyway." "Yeah, we'll hit the after Christmas sales too, so you can get your fruit-flavored candy canes." Jabari rolled his eyes. "Can't forget those." "Absolutely not. So, is your boyfriend coming with you to our Christmas dinner?" "Who?" His voice lifted at the question, and he picked at the threads of his long sleeves, jumping to his feet and roaming around the room. "Your boyfriend? Craig, wasn't it?" "Carlisle, Mom," Jabari muttered. "Right, Carly. Is he coming to Christmas dinner? Do I need to make a space for him?" "No, you don't. We're not together, actually." "What?" "We're not together. We ended it a few weeks ago. I thought I told you?" "I thought you guys were taking a break." "Well, sure, we took a break for a minute. Then we decided the break should extend into the whole relationship. So," Jabari drawled, "we're over." "Oh," her voice dropped, how are you feeling about it? Hey. I'm fine, really. Our relationship was rocky and, I don't know, I really need to focus on my music right now anyway. Right after Christmas, I need to focus on getting work. I'm tired of teaching little sticky children how to learn scales. I want to play music. I want to move people. Oh honey, you'll get there. You're always working so hard. Yeah. Thanks. I was thinking about maybe writing some music and turning it into an album, but I don't know. Who still listens to classical piano, you know? I'm sure someone will. Good music to listen to on long car trips. Jabari laughed. No, Mom. Maybe good music to study to. I don't know. I might do it. I'd listen to it, so I'm sure there are others who will too. Exactly. I think you should. It would be lovely. Thanks. Jabari tugged his lips into a slight smirk as happiness swelled inside him. He knew so many musicians whose parents didn't support them. He knew he was lucky to have two supportive parents. He thumbed the cell phone in his hands, squeezing it and sighing. Anyway, I need to get going. I have to finish packing everything, make sure everything's squared away with Diana, and then get to the airport. Oh, Diana? How is she? Oh, you know. She's fine. She's got a new girlfriend and they're doing well. She's been working on a few projects, but they're much more hip-hop rather than classical, or lyric-less. Ah. She has an album? Yeah, Mom, she's working on an album. Jabari laughed. She's watching my fish for me over Christmas, so I just want to make sure she's not nervous about everything that needs to get done. Then she's going to drop me off at the airport, so I don't have to store my car. Is she going to pick you up too? I think so, but even if she can't, I can always get a taxi cab. Hopefully she can pick you up. I don't want you riding in a taxi cab. Okay? Why not? They just don't seem very safe. Who'll be driving it? Will they have a background check? What if they're a serial killer? Mom, you're getting a little overdramatic. The taxicab drivers are just fine. Plus, this is something you don't even need to worry about right now. I haven't even gotten home yet, so focus on that first. Fine, but I still don't want you taking a taxicab anywhere. Can't you get another friend to pick you up? Sure, Mom. I'll see what I can do. I'll get someone to pick me up, since taxicabs are oh so dangerous. Really, I need to get going. I love you. I'll see you soon. Okay, honey. Be safe. Be careful. I will. I love you. Yeah, I love you too. Kisses. Kisses. With a smile, Jabari ended the call and slipped his cell phone in his pocket. He prowled through his apartment collecting his toiletries, the small gifts he had already purchased, and one extra outfit just in case. He packed a carry-on bag with his laptop, puffy headphones, and dry snacks. As he finished the last of his packing, his friend knocked on his door, and he walked her through his fish care routine before loading her vehicle with his bags. He hoisted one heavy suitcase, one instrument case, and his carry-on bag in the back of her vehicle, and climbed into the passenger seat. Dante. Angela, I'm out of baby's breath and eucalyptus. I won't have more for at least a few weeks. Dante Hernandez stepped away from the check-in counter, sliding his ticket in the back pocket of his jeans and shouldering a fat carry-on bag alongside a smaller laptop bag. He adjusted his blazer on his shoulders as he moved through the airport. How can you be out of the most popular wedding florals? It's not like you work as a floriculturist or anything, a shrill voice responded to him. It's extra popular this year, it seems, and you weren't the only one buying eucalyptus in droves. I will have more, I said, and you will be the first to know when I have them available again. You promise? Angela moaned. I promise. Don't make that sound. It's uncomfortable. Dante dropped his bag by a secluded seat close to his flight area. He eased down into a scooped seat and rested his laptop bag beside him. Did you call for anything else besides to tell me you're out of 2 of the most obnoxious wedding flowers known to man? Nope. That's mostly what I called for. Why? I am going to have to let you go. I am boarding a flight soon, and I'm navigating the airport. Oh. You. Where are you going? Are you going to see your family? Dante twitched. His relaxed demeanor evaporated, leaving his shoulders tight and his chest constricted. No. No, I'm not. I am going to look at some land I may purchase for a southern flower farm. You're going to look at land. It's so close to Christmas. You should be spending it with family, not spending it closing on a new deal and working with numbers. I see, Dante murmured. Thank you for letting me know. His voice was icy as he replied to Angela's overly helpful words. He twitched when he thought of his family. Yeah. He didn't have one. Dante had added to the harrowing statistics of the amount of homeless youth in the country. His mother had abandoned him at a young age. His father had never been in the picture. His foster mother and father had been nothing short of absolutely terrible, and he shivered as his mind floated there. Old wounds stung as he heard his foster mother's shrill tone in his ears. No problem. You've got to have someone you can spend the holidays with. Promise me you'll spend Christmas and New Year's with family. You don't deserve to spend the time alone. Of course. I don't believe your tone. Aha. I'll talk to you later, Angela. Dante ended the call, tucking his cell phone away as he dug into his laptop bag and pulled out a heavy, hard-sided textbook, opening it over his lap. Faded pictures of flowers dotted the pages, and he lost himself in studying the details of various florals until a shrill cry cut through his focus. He flicked his eyes up and scanned the area, landing on an exasperated creature in front of the help kiosk. The creature was tall, slender, and full of tight, coily hair. What do you mean all the flights are canceled? The stranger hissed. His hands abandoned his bags, dropping the handle of one carry-on. He shrugged an instrument case from his shoulders and placed his hands on the counter. All the flights flying from here to Jackson, Mississippi, are canceled. The woman behind the kiosk flicked her eyes up to the stranger. Bored brown eyes stared at the dark-skinned man as he flailed his arms. All of them? Like all of them? He groaned, raking his fingers through his short hair and placing a hand on his slight hips. How long are they canceled for exactly? I am not sure. There is inclement weather on the way, and the pilots have made their decision. So the flights are just canceled indefinitely? Until further notice, yes. They are canceled for the time being. Fuck. He paused. Oh, I'm sorry. He massaged his temples and looked around the area. His eyes slowly traveled towards Dante, and as they did, Dante straightened up in his seat and stashed his book away. When their eyes met, electricity went through Dante, and he temporarily drowned in the stranger's big brown eyes, full lips, and deep mahogany skin. The stranger quirked a light smile towards Dante. Dante's heart turned over. It was a new feeling. One he had never experienced before, and he didn't quite like it. I really need an option here. The man turned back to the employee, squinting at the woman's name tag. Becky. Becky, I really need an option here. I need to get on this flight because I have this long layover, and the first rehearsal for my hometown's annual Christmas concert is tomorrow night. I can't miss it. I'm hosting it. Well, Mr. Jones, there's not much I can do for you. I can't put the planes in the sky. I know you can't do that, but is there a workaround? Maybe I can go to a different city and around the problem? No, sir. Okay, he sighed, scratching his head. I really need something. I'm really sorry. You're not the only person who needs to get home to their family. I mean, yeah. I know that. The man quirked his smooth eyebrows over his forehead and reeled backwards. I'm aware. I just need options. This is really important to me, and I really don't know what to do. Dante wet his lips and stood up, grabbing his carry-on bag and approaching the pair. Closer to the stranger, his heart skipped beats, and the rest of the airport fell away. For a moment it was just them. Nothing else. He wet his lips and ducked his head before looking at the worker. Is there a problem here? Who are you? The stranger quirked his eyebrow. Expressive eyes glared at Dante as he folded his arms across his chest. There seemed to be an issue over here, and I? There is an issue over here, but who are you though? The man bristled. His full lips tensed at the corners. My name is Dante Hernandez. Noted. He looked back at the worker. So nothing? You basically can't help me get home tonight? Basically, no. She shrugged her slender shoulders. Where are you going? Dante asked. Nowhere. Bakersville, Mississippi. The attendant handed the man's tickets back. It's about 13 hours from here, isn't it? Dante scrunched his eyebrows together. The stranger's shoulders sagged. Yeah. It's about 14 hours from here, but Becky says there's absolutely no way to get there, so don't bother asking for alternative options, she won't give you any. Flying options. I could drive you. Excuse? He batted his eyelids, long eyelashes fanning his cheeks. I could drive you there. You must get there by tomorrow, correct? Right now it is still morning. If we leave soon, we can spend one night in a hotel and arrive tomorrow. You think I'm going to ride in a car with a stranger for 2 days? Ah. My name is Dante Hernandez, he smirked. Yeah, you already said that, but you're still a damn stranger. Would you like to get there or not? You know what? Fine, Dante. If you are some serial killer, my family will come after you, and you will be in jail. In fact, I am going to send all your information to my mother, my father, and my best friend. All of which you will have no contact with. He jabbed a finger into Dante's chest. Do I get your name? No. Okay. Smiling, Dante lifted the instrument case from the ground and turned it over in his hands. You are a musician? We're not making small talk. If we're doing this, we're doing it. Of course. Dante looked at the employee. Please issue him a refund for his flight tickets and issue me a refund for mine. He dug into his pocket and handed the woman his information. Sir, we don't normally do refunds, she started. Ah, Dante cut her off. My friend here has a flight delayed more than 3 hours, which entitles him to compensation for the inconvenience. As for me, I will contact your headquarters. If a refund is impossible, I can get the cost of the ticket transferred to another flight. As Dante spoke, another woman breezed behind the counter, adjusting the buttons of her uniform as she glimpsed the two men. Good morning, she greeted the trio, eyes lingering on Dante. Mr. Hernandez, her eyes softened with recognition. It's been a while since you've been around these parts, hasn't it? Ah yes, Ms. Ewing, it has. I spent some time in France discovering new floral combinations and working with a perfume designer. Are you creating your own fragrance? She touched her neck and twirled locks of her hair. Perhaps. The man beside Dante sucked his teeth. Unimpressed. Are we going? What's going on here? Ms. Ewing looked between her coworker and Dante, regarding the musician last. Nothing serious. My friend's flight has been delayed, so we were requesting a refund. He was requesting a refund on my behalf, the man corrected. Yes. I was indeed. Dante wet his lips, a little chuckle escaping his form. We are going to get a rental car and drive instead. Oh, okay. And what about your ticket? Dante waved a hand. I was going to transfer it to a future flight. I have to meet with some florists in New York in January. Of course you do. Ms. Ewing winked. Oh. Are you guys taking a rental car? If so, you know you can request the compensation for it, since it's inconveniencing you. I don't know if they'll approve the whole trip or not, but it's definitely worth a shot. I'll keep that in mind, Dante nodded and looked at the musician. What vehicle would you prefer? Oh, I get a vehicle preference now. Of course. Something that affords me a lot of space, in case I want to get away from you. He collected his things and marched towards the rental car area. Laughing, Dante gathered his own bags and followed him. Jabari. What's your phone number? Jabari demanded, fixing a hard gaze on the relative stranger. Sure, he knew his name. He knew the man's cologne was an expert mix of florals and spice, and he knew the man's smile was infectious, but he didn't really know him. Dante relayed his phone number. Let me see your driver's license. Jabari held out his hand. Dante's full lips tugged into a smirk, and his hazel eyes sparkled with amusement. He was always amused, it seemed, when it came to Jabari. With the workers, his mirth fell away and his eyes hardened. The same thing happened when he answered the numerous amount of phone calls he'd received since they got into the rental car line. Of course, it being the holidays, they had waited in line for an hour before receiving the keys to a luxury sedan. Jabari had balked at the price per day, but Dante had handed over a sleek black credit card, signed the information, and stepped out of the line. He left Jabari in front of the airport while he ducked into the parking garage, retrieving their vehicle. Dante slammed the trunk closed as he dug his wallet out of his back pocket and handed it to Jabari. I just need your license. It's in there. Jabari eyed the silky leather billfold, flipping it open. A stack of $100 bills along with several bank cards fattened the wallet, and Jabari's eyes grew wide. Ah, he chewed his bottom lip. My license is in the front at the bottom. Aha. So what are you? A millionaire? Are we combining assets to this figure? Whoa. Jabari's eyes fluttered. The handsome, benevolent stranger was also a billionaire. He rested his palm on the side of the vehicle as his heart strummed in his chest. I thought you were taking a picture of my license. Nope, actually I'm good. His voice kicked up a few notches as he handed the man his wallet back and slumped into the front seat. Jabari sent several messages to his mother and best friend before he tucked his cell phone between his thighs and peered at Dante. The man gripped the steering wheel with purpose. Strong hands at a lazy 7-4 with one arm resting on the door. The air conditioner rustled his thick, dark curls. Dante shifted one hand from the steering wheel to resting on the gear shift as he got them away from the airport and on one of the freeways. Jabari. Dante flicked his golden-hued eyes towards the other man. My name is Jabari. Jabari Jones. Most people call me JJ. I see. So yeah. Jabari nodded. It's nice to finally meet you, Jabari. Sure. So what's your profession? Stealing from the poor and stuffing their money in your pocket? Dante chuckled. No. Why is everything I say so amusing to you? The man shrugged. You are cute. Oh, thanks. Thank you. I'm cute. Great. Exactly what I want to be. Jabari shifted himself in his seat and turned away from Dante, staring out the passenger window. The city was mostly cold and mostly wet, and they passed naked trees and snow-capped buildings as Dante drove. Dante turned on the radio, and upbeat music blared through the speakers. The bass boomed, rattling the vehicle. Nope. Jabari shook his head and reached over, changing the station to classical and turning it down. We're listening to this. Dante tugged his lips down and clenched his jaws. Did you expect me to like hip-hop music or something? I like hip-hop music. Oh, I just bet. Do you have a front row seat at every rap concert? Golden-plated invitations? Sometimes. I have one after Christmas and I considered inviting you, but we're not friends. Damn right we're not. He folded his arms across his chest, glimpsing Dante up and down before turning away from him, again. Dante piqued his curiosity. The man presented more questions than he answered. Why was he so willing to travel to a strange town during Christmas? Didn't he have his own family? Jabari scanned the man's rough fingers. Rings adorned him, but none in the shape, style, or location of a wedding band. His wedding finger was empty. So, I guess you have to get going right when you drop me off, huh? What does your family normally do for Christmas? I have a meeting with a client near the town you live in. A meeting so close to Christmas? Yes. A meeting close to Christmas. You're going to miss your family then, huh? Dante didn't reply. Instead, he turned the music up louder, flooding the vehicle with classical piano ballads. Their conversation dropped off again, and Jabari spent the first half of the drive text messaging between his mother, his sibling, and his best friend. A few times he laughed aloud. Other times his eyes drooped as sleep ached his bones. Their first stop was an empty rest area, and Dante pulled into the parking lot. The man hopped out of the vehicle and stretched his hands over his head, arching his back and pushing his chest to the sky. He groaned as he relaxed again. Jabari knuckled his eyes, rubbing his hands down his face. He had slept for 3 hours, and he was more exhausted now than he had been when he fell asleep. He unbuckled himself and hopped out of the vehicle. Why did we stop? I needed to stretch my legs. Did you sleep well? Shockingly, yeah. And it seems I still have all my body parts and my underwear, so I guess you're not quite a murdering rapist after all. It would be inappropriate if I said I might be earning your trust first, wouldn't it? Jabari paused, cutting his eyes to Dante. Inappropriate and creepy. I almost started to trust you, but you blew it. A true pity. Dante stretched his arms over his head again and bent his spine backwards as he strolled around the vehicle. He adjusted the long sleeves of his shirt, cuffing them at his thick forearms and climbing back into the driver's seat. I'm ready when you are. Sec. Jabari updated his friends and family on his trip and then reluctantly slumped back into the passenger seat, closing the door behind him. Well rested, he kicked off his shoes and rested them on the dashboard, leaning his seat all the way back. Are you comfortable? Dante reversed out of the parking space and exited the rest area. I mean, as comfortable as I'm going to get in here. I'm starting to get hungry, so I want to stop in the next big city for food. Sure. A restaurant. Okay. A Chinese one. Dante nodded. Wherever you want to eat is fine with me. And once it gets dark, I want us to stop for the night. Jabari covered his eyes with his forearm. It's going to get dark at 5 o'clock. Then we'll have the whole afternoon in hotel rooms to unwind and get some sleep. It could put us behind schedule. It won't. Rehearsal is in the afternoon. We have plenty of time. How long have you played your instrument? My violin? Yeah. It's actually pretty recent. I picked it up maybe 5 years ago now. I'm much better on a piano. How long have you been playing the piano? Honestly? I have no idea. I've been playing it since I was born, I guess. Is your family musically inclined? Nope. It's my turn to ask a question now. Jabari uncovered his eyes and studied the back of Dante's head. His curls licked the base of his hairline, and his V-necked shirt exposed the thick column of his neck and a shadow of his chest. Jabari's mouth watered. It had been a few months since he'd had any. Sure, he had only ended it with his boyfriend a few weeks ago, but they had been on a break before then, and before then he had found out the man was a cheating scumbag. It had scorned him from relationships, but Dante had him considering it again. So far, Dante had been perfect. He loaded the bags, he drove, he accommodated Jabari's requests. He didn't mind listening to classical music either. Okay. What is your question? Dante stole a glance at Jabari, scanning over his reclining body. Jabari smirked. Who's waiting for you back home, wherever home is? No one's waiting for me back home. Do you visit your parents for the holidays? I don't see why this line of questioning is important. Dante bristled. His shoulders tensed and he fixed his hard gaze on the road. It's not important. I'm curious though. Family is important to you? Well, I mean, yeah. Family is all you have, isn't it? I mean, I definitely got lucky with mine. My parents are both understanding, and they never tried to force me in a box when it came to my interests. They've always been encouraging and, I don't know, Jabari smiled. My mother and I are like best friends. Sounds nice. Yeah, it's pretty nice. You'll meet her, and she'll probably invite you to stay for Christmas, since no one's waiting for you anywhere, apparently. Dante didn't reply. Yeah. What about your mother? What about her? Do you guys get along? I suppose we do, yeah. That's good. Does she live far away? Yeah. Dante adjusted the vehicle's mirrors with furrowed brows. Tell me about this Christmas musical you have to get to. Oh. It's this annual thing we've been doing since I was a child. The town's musicians and singers all get together for carols at the park, and the trees are decorated. It's a whole thing. Jabari waved a hand. Like, it's one of the main events of the year. I promise at least 2 couples get engaged during the caroling in the park celebration every year. It's ridiculous. Many people get engaged during Christmas. Actually, most people get engaged during the holidays. Really? Jabari quirked his eyebrows. Yeah. People want to be happy for the holidays, and they're feeling amorous. The whole month of December is filled with proposals. That's sweet. Is it? I think so. I mean, I didn't realize it was such a popular month, but getting proposed to amidst snow and cuddle weather with family all around you seems perfect. I guess. You don't think so? Dante shrugged. The next most popular date is around Valentine's Day. Okay, well, not that Christmas isn't cliché, but Valentine's Day seems so typical. Day. Wait, do you like that day? No. Phew. Okay, good. You know, I've never actually had a good Valentine's Day. Every year some disaster happens, and it turns into a day of hell. Let's see. 5 years ago, I was in a major car accident on the way home from rehearsal. This year, I found out my boyfriend was cheating on me, and he was steady texting his new friend while we were at dinner. Basically, all of his working late wasn't exactly working. I'm sorry. You don't have to be. You're not my boyfriend. I'm sorry someone caused you pain. We tried to work it out after, because whatever. Sex is just sex, right? Is it? I don't know. I'm asking. For me? No. Sex isn't just sex. Sex is something you share with the person you're in love with. Sounds sweet but doesn't happen in practice. What do you mean? In practice, sex is something you share with everyone. It's just sex, but love is love or something. I see. Is that your opinion? Sex is just sex? Maybe? Honestly, I don't know. I really want to believe sex is special, except between hookups and cheating, I've never met someone who really found it special. I find it special. Yeah, Jabari rolled his eyes. Okay, sure. You don't believe me? No. Why would I? I don't actually know anything about you, besides your first and last name. You know more than my first and last name. You know my middle name. True. I do know your middle name. You know I am, so far, not a serial killer. Dante grinned. You're barely not. You have plenty of time to show your true colors. Dante veered off the highway onto the next exit and weaved through the small town, until he pulled into a sparse parking lot in front of a Chinese restaurant. Oh. Okay, strikes against you. You could murder me here, stash the body, and no one would know where the fuck I was hidden. This is a postage stamp of a town. You have a preoccupation with being murdered. Well. Jabari waved his hands. Look at the circumstances, and look at our size difference. You probably bench press my weight at the gym. How much do you weigh? Around 180 pounds. I bench press much more. Dante chuckled. This place is fine. I stopped here once years ago. Now I'm a little shocked the place still exists. The food is good. Come on. Dante exited the vehicle and walked around it, opening the door for Jabari and posting himself beside the car. Jabari stretched his willowy limbs, curling long fingers around the vehicle's frame as he climbed out. Blood rushed to his legs, his skin tingled, and his muscles tightened, jumping and shuddering as he stretched. Fine, but you're paying. Obviously. Another laugh as he led Jabari inside the little restaurant and guided him to a seat with one hand at the small of his back. Would you like a buffet or an individual meal? Aren't you way too rich to eat at a buffet? Buffets are all you can eat. I am too rich for a good deal now? No, but I figured rich guys wouldn't bother mingling in little hole-in-the-wall restaurants when they could have Chinese delivery from China whenever they want it. I would never order Chinese food from China. It would take a half a day, at the very minimum, to get here. I would go to China for a few days instead. Ooh, okay. So much better, really? I think so. I think I will have the buffet. I guess if it's good enough for a rich guy, it's damn good enough for me. Jabari folded his menu and slid it away. A server greeted them after a few minutes, accepting their drink orders and recording them for 2 buffet meals. As soon as she left, Dante popped out of his seat and wandered over to the food, grabbing a clean white plate and browsing the options. Jabari watched him. In the vehicle, he couldn't stare, but now they had distance between them, and he wanted a good look at this generous stranger. Under the yellow heat lamps, Dante's bronze skin glowed. The shadows accented his square, harsh features and his soft, smooth skin. A fitted shirt squeezed his bulging muscles, clinging to his narrow hips. He was deceptively well off. With sagging jeans and a simple shirt, he looked nothing like the typical billionaire. In fact, he looked regular. Sexy, but regular. He also didn't look like he settled many things through monetary resolutions. Dante reminded Jabari of the boys he grew up around. While Jabari enjoyed academics and classical music, his peers enjoyed partying, girls, and the latest hip-hop fashion. Dante looked like he enjoyed girls very much. Here's your water. No lemon, no ice for you. Ice, 2 lemons for him. The server placed the drinks on the table, nestling a straw beside each sweating glass. Thanks. Jabari smiled. I wanted to say, the server bit her lip, you're so lucky. I want a man who looks at me the way he looks at you. Who? Jabari blinked and flicked his eyes back to Dante, who had by now piled his plate high with food. Him. The woman nodded. Yeah. He just has this look when he looks at you. I don't know. You guys are the perfect couple. Jabari screwed up his features. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you. I'm going to get my food now, I think. He slithered out of his seat and darted away from the server. As he piled rice onto a plate, he considered her words. He hadn't noticed it, but perhaps Dante did look at him a certain way. He added a variety of saucy meats to his plate, breezing past Dante several times before returning to their booth and sitting across from the man. Your food looks good. Yeah. Dante sipped his water and dug into his meal. He ate steadily and quietly, not looking up until he had eaten everything on his plate. Then the man blotted his lips with a napkin and sat back in his seat. You're done? Not yet. So, the server thinks we're together. Okay. She said you look at me a certain way. In a good way, I hope? Dante arched an eyebrow. Yeah. In a good way. Jabari chuckled. I think you're supposed to deny it, though. Why? I do look at you. I'm looking at you right now. Yeah, but I'm not sure she meant it in the general sense of looking at someone. Jabari snickered. Well, since we're on the subject, I should confess that I did look at your ass back at the airport. Scandalous. Were you impressed? Dante laughed. Absolutely. Now, if you'll excuse me. I'm getting more food. I want to make sure I get my money's worth. Get me more rice, please. Dante nodded. Sure. And the fried cream cheese things. Anything else? Jabari's eyes trailed around the area, and he tipped his head to the side, tapping his finger on his chin. Nope. I think I'm good otherwise. Good. Dante's light brown eyes locked on his and sent a surprising chill down his spine. Yes, Dante definitely looked at him a certain type of way.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this story so far. If you are, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more. And with that, I'll let you guys get back to the story.
Dante. Several hours after stopping for Chinese food, Dante pulled into a multi-level hotel and parked the vehicle between a recreational vehicle and a minivan before looking at Jabari. I'm going to go inside and get 2 rooms for us. Why 2? So you can have your own private space? Dante arched an eyebrow and wet his lips before dipping out of the vehicle. Tempting. Jabari was always tempting with his cute quips, little movements, and playful smiles. Oh well, I guess. Yeah. Be right back. He closed the door behind him and escaped inside the carpeted hotel lobby, requesting 2 rooms, each equipped with a king-size bed, a refrigerator, a microwave, and all other available amenities. He received 2 key cards and handed one to Jabari when he returned to the luxury rental vehicle. Jabari snatched it out of his hand and launched himself from the passenger seat. He stretched his slender form and wandered to the back of the vehicle, digging a pair of clothes out of his suitcase and hugging them to his form. Get your toiletries, Dante instructed, jutting his chin to Jabari's luggage. Oh right. He grabbed a zippered bag. Dante shouldered his briefcase and his carry-on bag, closing the trunk and wandering up the stairs behind Jabari. They parted ways when they reached the rooms, and Dante watched Jabari disappear into his. The man closed the door behind him with a soft click. With a sigh, Dante entered his room, resting his items by the door. He had been in hundreds of hotel rooms, and this one was unremarkable in every way. The spotless room sported standard-issue wallpaper and faded floral sheets. A mass-printed welcome letter rested on the pillow with a box of chocolates. Dante towed his shoes off and escaped to the bathroom, shedding his clothes and washing off the day of driving. The steaming water massaged sore muscles, and he stood in the shower until the hot water ran out. Then he roped a fluffy towel around his waist and exited the bathroom, stretching over the king-size bed and turning on the television. He drifted in and out of sleep until the hotel room's phone rang. It jolted him awake, and he stared at it before lifting it off the receiver and putting it to his ear. Hello, he rumbled. Dante. It's Jabari. I need your help. Dante knuckled sleep from his eyes and looked at the alarm clock. It flashed 12 o'clock even. What time is it? 7-something. I need you to come over here. Why? Because I thought I saw a roach, and I really need you to kill it. This is a 5-star hotel. You did not see a roach. I'm pretty sure I did. And it was huge. It flew across the room and then disappeared in the curtains. Jabari. Dante, please. Either come kill it or I'm taking your room. Give me a second then. Hurry. Aha. Dante ended the call and eased out of the bed, swinging his legs over the side and discarding the bath towel. He dressed in his previous clothes, tugging on his long-sleeved shirt and his jeans and stuffing his feet in box-toed loafers. He stepped across the hall and knocked on Jabari's door. The door swung open. Finally. Jabari dragged him inside. I saw him again. He's definitely in here, and he's over there by the window. Okay. Dante slipped off his shoes and picked one up, approaching the window and rustling the curtains. Nothing. He slid the curtains along the rod, bunching them at the end of it, and inspected the window. Still nothing. I'm not seeing anything. Dante crossed his arms. You think I'm lying? No. I said I am not seeing anything. Maybe he left and went to terrorize someone else. Okay, this is serious. It's not a joke, Mr. Jokester, Mr. Funny Pants. Jabari scowled. I am not laughing. Dante put his shoes back on as he approached the door. Where are you going? Back to my room? You can't. My stuff is over there. Yes, yes, I can. No, you can't because the roach is still in here, and what if he comes back? Then you will call me again, and I will come over here and kill it for you. Jabari stared. Or you could just stay in here with me. The man laced his hands behind his back and puffed out his chest. Innocence shined in his eyes, and his full lips parted in a perpetual frown. The yellow overhead lights haloed him, outlining the tight coils on his head and illuminating his dark eyes. I don't think I should. Why not? Where am I going to sleep? In the bed with me. It's a huge bed, and two people can sleep in a bed without it becoming some sexual thing. Dante flicked his eyes over to the bed. The sheets had already been rustled, pillows adjusted, alarm set. No, I'll sleep in the chair. You really can sleep with me. It's no problem. I'll sleep in the chair. Let me get my laptop at least. No, Jabari protested. It's Christmas. People shouldn't work during Christmas. First, it's not Christmas yet, and second, in my field, everyone is always working. Except you tonight. No working. Let's talk. Dante sighed and slumped into the reclining chair to the left of the bed. About what? I don't know. About anything. Jabari shed his pants and crawled into the bed, burying himself under the comforter. Pick something. Okay. Would you rather be single for 10 years or be with someone who ignores you? The first one. Why? Jabari bunched the sheets under his chin and faced Dante, searching him with his big brown eyes. Because a relationship isn't worth it if both parties aren't happy. I'd rather be alone than be in an unsatisfying relationship. What about you? Honestly? I'm not sure. 10 years is a long time to be alone. Dante smirked. Sure, but what if on the first day of that 11th year you meet your soulmate? I'm not sure I believe in soulmates either. I mean, theoretically speaking, 1 in 9 people is a match, so if you just meet 9 people, you'll be compatible with one of them. You don't believe there's someone out there who's perfect for you? No. I mean, I really want to believe there is, but Jabari shrugged. Dante tugged his lips into a little smirk. Describe your perfect relationship. That's not a would-you-rather question. No, it isn't. Make it one. A light chuckle. Would you rather pursue another person, or have them pursue you? The second one. I want to feel wanted and desired. I mean, I know everyone wants to feel wanted, but I want someone to really work for it. I've never had a guy really work for it. Okay. What? Jabari yawned. I'm listening. Would you rather, Jabari bit his bottom lip, have sex on the first date or wait 6 months for sex? I would rather wait. There are so many things you can do, intimacy-wise, before having sex. You'd wait for 6 months? Jabari blinked. For the right person, I would wait so much longer. I see. Tell me about all these pre-sex intimacies. The usual, Jabari. Kissing, cuddling, spending time gazing into each other's eyes. Hold on. What was that last one? Spending time gazing into each other's eyes. Yeah. No one does that. You've never done it? Jabari shook his head and yawned again. Nope, he replied, sleep weighing his voice down. Ah. You're tired. Take a nap. Dante turned off the lights and eased back into the reclining chair. He watched Jabari until the man's breath evened out and slowed from sleep. Then he dropped his head back and closed his eyes, latticing his fingers over his chest as he slept. Again, he stole a few hours of sleep before he woke up. Instead of a ringing phone, Jabari tapped his shoulder and slithered over his lap. The other man's bare thighs rubbed along Dante's jeans, and his bare chest pressed into Dante's. What are you doing? Dante rumbled, petting down Jabari's spine and hollowing his belly. I'm cold. There are more blankets in the closet. Blankets won't solve it. I want you to sleep with me. No. Please. No. You can't be comfortable in this chair. Tell me why you insisted I come over here, and I will consider it. Dante massaged Jabari's hip. I told you. It was because of the flying mutant roach. Jabari nestled himself in the smallest sliver of space, burrowing into Dante's side and resting his head on the man's shoulder as he yawned. You're sticking to your story. Jabari mumbled, but then his body relaxed and he went back to sleep latched onto Dante's side. Dante shivered and wiggled away from Jabari before scooping the man into his arms and carrying him to the bed, depositing him there and tucking the sheets around his body. He touched Jabari's chin and stroked his long cheeks as he studied his sleeping features. The man was peaceful, content. Or well, he was until Dante stepped away from the bed. As Dante retreated, Jabari woke up, sitting upright with a fog of exhaustion distorting his features. Dante. His sleep-heavy voice called, and his drooping eyes fixed on him. Yeah? As he looked on Jabari, his resolve softened. Whatever it was, Jabari's guard had dropped once he fell asleep. The mask he wore each day had been cast aside for this honest, youthful person staring up at him. He liked this person even more than he liked the person he met at the airport. For this person, he would move mountains. I don't want to be alone. You're not alone. He reached across the bed and touched the man's cheek again. I am, because you're going to go back to your room and I'll be alone. Dante pursed his lips, scanning over Jabari's body before sighing. I'm not leaving. I'll sleep here for the night. You promise? Dante laughed. Yeah. I promise. Go back to sleep. I'll join you in a minute. Jabari. The next morning, the sunlight bounced off a sheet of fresh snow, brightening the entire hotel room through cracked curtains, and Jabari cracked his eyes open to an empty bed. He had slept solid for the first time in several months. The pillow beside him still displayed a dent left by Dante's head, and the faint scent of Dante's cologne lingered in the bed. It comforted Jabari as he bunched the sheets over his lap and sat upright, rubbing his forehead. He had a vague memory of inviting Dante to the bed, and another vague memory of the man's arms around him. What he remembered most, however, was the sense of comfort he had while in Dante's arms. The stress of the Christmas musical, his nagging worries, and even his loneliness evaporated when Dante pulled him close. Dante. Jabari called, adjusting his cock in his briefs and slithering out of the bed. On bare feet, he padded to the bathroom and poked his head inside. No, Dante. Jabari called for him again and checked the second room. When he returned to the main room, he noticed Dante's missing keycard and wallet, along with all his clothes. His mind raced. What if he had done something stupid? What if Dante had left completely? Jabari's pulse galloped in his veins as he tugged on jeans, a t-shirt, and shoes, before ripping the hotel room door open and seeing Dante in front of him. You're awake. Why, yeah. Jabari blinked, searching Dante's face before glimpsing the food in his hands. I thought you'd be asleep until I got back. I wanted to make sure we received the continental breakfast. He extended a plate to Jabari. Classic breakfast foods filled it. Oh. Well, I woke up right as you left, I guess. Jabari frowned. You could have left a note or something. I'm sorry. I really thought you would be asleep when I got back. Dante's eyes softened around the corners, and his thick eyebrows relaxed in their shape. It took years off his face and softened his hard look. It's okay. Thanks for breakfast. You're welcome. We're really close to my hometown now, so we don't have to leave right away. If you wanted to sleep more, we could. I would like to take a nap, sure. Dante set his plate on the office desk occupying the corner of the room and shrugged out of his shirt and jeans, crawling back into the bed. The man rested on his side and pulled the faded sheets over his broad shoulders until only his curly hair was visible. Jabari smiled and joined him in the bed after picking at cold scrambled eggs and sliced fruit. He shed his clothes and slipped into the bed behind Dante, curling into his back. Are you comfortable? Yeah. Jabari whispered against his neck. Are you? Uh-huh. Sorry for being so pushy last night. I don't know. I sleep better next to someone, and it's been a while of sleeping alone. Oh, okay. What about you? Dante reached behind him and grabbed Jabari's hand, threading their fingers and pulling Jabari's arm across his torso. What about me? Do you like sleeping alone or with someone else? I don't have a preference. Oh. I guess. I mean, I feel like after sex cuddle sleep is the best sleep. I know we didn't have sex, but I'm just saying. I wouldn't know. Huh? You don't cuddle after sex? Jabari squeezed Dante's body closer to him, meshing their torsos together. Dante's firm ass sat in his lap, and he nestled his cock between the globes of his ass. Dante shivered. I don't have sex. Wait. Huh? What do you mean you don't have sex? Like a nun or something? I mean, I haven't. Sex isn't just penetration, you know. I know the perimeters of sex. I haven't had it. Jabari made a soft noise in the back of his throat and chewed his bottom lip. So like, at first I was waiting, then I built a business. You didn't date when you built a business? I travel a lot. So? It makes it difficult to have a relationship. Dante groaned and rolled over, resting his head on one folded arm and regarding Jabari. And I don't do hookups. So, you've never done anything? Beyond kissing and youthful dry humping, no. Dry humping. Jabari giggled. I have good memories of dry humping. Anyway, it's cool that you haven't done it. It'll be special for you, rather than a quick, sweaty encounter in the back of some kid's SUV. It will be, yeah. Dante smirked, touching Jabari's cheek and trailing his fingers down his jawline. Dante's touch sent electricity through his body. He couldn't remember if he had felt it before because their first touch had been shrouded in darkness and with a cloud of exhaustion over Jabari's head. However, now his senses were clear. Now Dante's gentle touch set his heart racing and stole his breath. Dante's gentle gaze immobilized him. Why yeah, Jabari croaked. Good? He cleared his throat and sat up. Thanks for doing all this for me. The renting a vehicle and traveling. I really appreciate it. Of course. Dante adjusted, rolling onto his back and closing his eyes. Why'd you do it? Do what? Why'd you volunteer to drive me? You looked like you needed help. Yeah, but I'm a complete stranger. Do you often volunteer to drive complete strangers across the country? No. I guess a better statement is, I wanted to help. Why? Dante shrugged. Does it matter? Yeah. It kind of does. The man cracked his eyes open and peered up at Jabari. What do you want me to say? The truth, just like you wanted from me. Dante sighed. All right. The truth is it hurt me when you were upset, and I wanted you to be happy. You wanted me to be happy? Yeah. I didn't like seeing you upset, so I wanted you to be happy. Jabari chewed his bottom lip, staring at Dante. You wanted a complete stranger to be happy? Yes. You've asked the same question twice now. I didn't know the answer was so confusing. Okay, well I guess it's so confusing because I've had full-ass relationships with men who didn't care about my happiness enough to rent a car and drive 2 days for me. Fuckboys. Who? Your exes. They're fuckboys. Not a lie. You're definitely worth a man caring about your happiness. You shouldn't settle. In all fairness, at the time, I wasn't settling. Now you shouldn't settle then, for anyone who won't give you the moon and all the stars. No one can give another person the moon, Jabari scoffed. It's a turn of phrase. A stupid turn of phrase. Dante laughed. You don't like my attempts to be poetic? Not when you say things like that. Jabari poked his tongue out. What should I say instead? I don't know. Just not things like that. He looked away from Dante, scanning his eyes around the room as a tickling blush rose on his cheeks. Dante's attention hadn't strayed from Jabari's face. He felt the man's hard gaze boring into his dark skin. "All right. Stop looking at me too." Jabari swatted at him, but Dante grabbed his arm. "Hey." A gentle twist, and Jabari fought against him, until their easy reclining became a tangle of limbs. His cock jumped to attention and pressed into Dante's muscled torso, as his chest heaved with winded breaths. He struggled again, but Dante had immobilized him, and he yanked him close. "Stop looking at you?" He accented his playful tone with a grin. "Yeah." Jabari hovered over him, centimeters from his lips. He flicked his eyes down at Dante's full pink lips before looking back up into his eyes, searching them as his lips parted. After a night of sleep, and once he knew he would be home in time, his mind floated to different things. His mind processed what had transpired the past 24 hours. He had traveled all day with a benevolent stranger, and slept in the same bed with him too. His insides tingled. "I like looking at you." "Well, too bad," he murmured. "You'll have to find someone else to stare at." Dante released his grip and snaked one hand to the back of Jabari's head, combing his fingers through tight coils. His hand settled on the back of his neck, and he inched his face closer. "I guess if I can't stare at you, then I'll have to do something else." Dante's warm breath tickled Jabari's lips. "What's something else?" Jabari sighed. His heart pounded in his chest, and he was reasonably confident he had never been so excited for a first kiss. Desire and hunger for Dante replaced all his worries, filling his veins until his pulse throbbed. Dante took his time. His thumb touched Jabari's lips, parting them. Jabari kissed the pad of his finger, eyelids fluttering closed. "This." He rumbled and closed the space between them, sealing their lips together. His hand tightened at Jabari's neck, massaging the base of Jabari's hairline as he explored his mouth. When they were both breathless, Dante retreated. "Ah." Jabari's chest constricted. He couldn't remember a time when he had been kissed so passionately and so sweetly at the same time. Dante was stronger than him. His arms were twice the width of Jabari's, but he was impossibly gentle. He stroked Jabari's skin like rose petals. He leaned in for a second kiss, devouring Jabari's moans with a supple, bridled hunger. After the second kiss, he released him. "We should eat breakfast and get going." "What was that?" Jabari's head spun. "What was what?" "The kiss." "Why?" "I've wanted to kiss you since I saw you." Jabari flushed. "Oh." Dante's confession did nothing for his excitement, and he stumbled away from the man on shaky legs, fingers touching his stinging lips. "You taste as good as I imagined." Thanks." Dante stole another kiss before moving out of the bed and disappearing into the bathroom. He emerged 10 minutes later with damp curls, his towel wrapped around his waist and a shirt over his shoulder. Curly chest hair trapped beads of water, and they sparkled in the light. Jabari's mouth watered. Then he cleared his throat. "Hey, are you ready?" "Almost. I need my belongings from the other room. Do you mind?" No." Jabari hopped up, slipping his feet into his shoes. He snatched Dante's keycard off the table and moved across the hall. Dante. They arrived in Bakersville 6 hours after they set out on the road, and Dante followed Jabari's winding directions through a snow-capped little town, through a quaint neighborhood, and right up to his parents' house. The house itself looked straight out of a Christmas magazine with hanging lights along the exterior, and in the evergreen bushes dotting the walkway. Candy canes flanked the sidewalk, and even the 2 vehicles in the driveway had Christmas decorations. One vehicle had a wreath in the front, and the other had antlers and a red ball. "Yeah, so my parents get a little wacky during Christmas." Jabari blushed as the vehicle turned into the driveway, and Dante killed the engine. "I can see. I used to think they did it for me and my brother, but now I think they do it for fun. You know, since we definitely don't care about candy cane decorations anymore." "Sure." Dante stared at the house. The house represented everything he never had growing up. He didn't have a stable Christmas expectation. In fact, he was lucky if he had a Christmas at all. For 10 out of 18 Christmases, he received nothing. Out of the remaining 8, he received decent gifts for 2. Come on. I want you to meet my parents. You'll love them and they'll love you. I don't think it's a good idea. Jabari blinked, jerking his head back as he thumbed the interior door handle. Why not? I don't think I'm staying. A soft smile touched Dante's lips. The holidays are for family, and I'm not family. The holidays are for everyone. Besides, you already said you had no one to go home to, so you can come home to me. Jabari hopped out of the vehicle. I'm not letting you spend Christmas alone. Jabari. I have work. I did miss my flight to bring you here. The front door opened, and 2 older people stepped outside. The older gentleman waved towards them both, and jammed his other hand in a pair of sweats low set on his hips, highlighting his round belly. The older woman shuffled around. She gave a quick wave to them, but then she busied herself with adjusting the decorations. You said you wanted me to always be happy, right? Jabari waved back at his parents. Yeah, but what? If my happiness is important to you, then you'll stay through Christmas with me. Dante looked from Jabari's parents to him, trailing his tongue over his teeth and regarding Jabari's playful features. Fine, he muttered. I'll stay. Perfect. So, you'll spend the whole afternoon with my parents, since I have practice in a couple hours. Jabari clapped Dante's shoulder and ducked out of the luxury sedan, racing up the festive walkway and roping his mother in a hug. Dante pressed his lips together as he watched the man with his family. They worked together, of course. He shared his mother's rich mahogany skin and had his father's dazzling lopsided smile and kind piercing eyes. After Jabari had done his greetings, Dante slithered out of the vehicle, slamming the door behind him and trudging up the pathway, slipping his hands in his pockets and shrugging his broad shoulders up. Mom, Dad, this is Dante Hernandez. He's the only reason I made it here on time because all the flights were canceled yesterday, and it was very dramatic, Jabari introduced him with a flourish. They looked Dante up and down before nodding and accepting him as is. The mother opened her arms, and Jabari nudged him forward into a hug. The woman rubbed down Dante's back, patting it, and a wash of comfort flooded through him. A mother's touch. This was new. Thanks for taking care of my baby, she whispered. Her sickly sweet perfume burned Dante's nose. Artificial fragrances. Dante cleared his throat and retreated, forcing a little smile as he jerked back. It's no problem, Mrs. Jones. Oh, you can call me Mama Jones or just Mama. You took care of my son, you're one of the family now. Come on in, and let's get you something to eat. Dante blinked. What? You've been traveling all day. Let me fix you something to eat. I'm fine, really. I should unload the vehicle. Jabari followed them into the kitchen, crossing his legs at the door and leaning against the frame. Mom, I have practice in about 2 hours. Do you mind if I take the car? Ooh, she puckered her lips as she spooned cloudy mashed potatoes on a patterned plate. I was going to take it to do a little bit of Christmas shopping this evening. I still have to get your father his gifts and the book club women their gifts, and I have to get your new friend a gift too, of course. Don't, Dante started. Well, Dante can take you shopping. Can't you? You don't have anything to do, right? Jabari smirked. I couldn't trouble him. He needs to rest after driving for 2 days. No, Mom, he doesn't. If he rests, he's going to work, and no one should be working during Christmas. Dante's nostrils flared as he stared at Jabari's grinning face. Oh, working on Christmas won't do. See? Exactly why he can take you, and I can take the car. If it's all right with you, of course. Mrs. Jones handed Dante a plate filled with mashed potatoes, watery string beans, baked chicken, and a triangle of crumbling cornbread. It smelled soulful and heavenly. Dante took the plate and nodded. Sure. It's fine with me. Perfect. Jabari clapped his hands and shrugged one shoulder, pressing his lips into a smile. Now I am going to go shower and then get changed. I'm going to leave early because chances are no one's set up, and Chloe will probably want to move the piano because she won't be close enough to a microphone. Oh, Chloe. Did you know she was dating that boy, Evan? Boy. You mean Evan, the guy the first dated in high school? Yes, that one. He's grown into such a sweet young man. Did you know he's opening his own hardware store in January? Sounds lovely, Mom. Oh, will you cook candied yams for dessert tonight? We're having candied yams on Christmas, sweetheart. I know, but Christmas is days away, and I haven't had any of your perfect, amazing sweet yams in months. The woman's face softened as she looked at her son. All right, but only if Dante doesn't mind stopping by the grocery store after our errands. He doesn't mind, Jabari answered. Let him say he doesn't mind, dear. I don't. It's fine. Dante chuckled, finally sitting down at the table with his plate. Jabari crossed the room and slid his hand across Dante's shoulders. I'll see you tonight. Yeah. Dante nodded, eyes following Jabari as he exited the kitchen. Jabari. Jabari left for his rehearsal an hour after they had arrived at his parents' house, leaving Dante in the kitchen surrounded by dated floral wallpaper and antique china stuffed cabinets. He ate his meal as Mrs. Jones buzzed around the kitchen, holding a gentle regard for him as she complained about the cleanliness of the spotless house. She dusted the cabinets and cleaned the counters, and turned to Dante when he put his fork down on the plate. Oh, let me get that for you. No, it's fine. I will wash it. Dante stood up, swiping the plate from the counter and approaching the sink. Oh no. You're our guest. You should go relax. You could watch television. I believe my husband is watching highlights from the game. I don't watch football, Dante replied. Young man. I am not letting you wash this dish, she clucked. Go in there and watch the game. But. Now. She pointed, smiling and laughing at the same time. Her dark eyes sparkled. I'll be ready for errands in another hour. Let me clean up in here and get dressed. Why don't you take a nap before we get going? Sure. Where? Go on down the hall to Jabari's room. It's the last door on the left-hand side. Dante froze, feathers swirled in his stomach, tickling his insides. His room. Of course. Where else were you going to sleep? On the couch? I figured. You figured what? My husband's watching the game in the living room, and we don't have a guest room, so go on back to Jabari's room and take a nap. I'll wake you when I'm ready to go. All right, Dante resigned and left the kitchen, following the shallow hallway to Jabari's bedroom. Family photographs hung on the hallway walls, and the family aged together over the years. Jabari and another boy grew up in pictures, starting with toothless photographs and continuing through awkward adolescence to adulthood. Their parents aged too. Mrs. Jones had started no older than Jabari was currently, and slowly her face sported wrinkles and gray hairs, but she never lost the happy sparkle in her eyes. Dante didn't have baby pictures or teenage pictures, and he definitely didn't have a smiling mother standing behind him in his life. Jabari's room was tiny and quaint, with a full-size bed in one corner of the room and a collection of instruments hanging on light blue walls. Sheet music and accessories littered every surface in his room except for his dresser. The dresser had an alarm clock, a frayed notebook, and a family photograph. Dante picked it up and traced his fingers over the tiny faces. His heart ached and he traced the front of his teeth. Jabari's life was almost perfect. And Dante hated to admit it, but he was jealous. He placed the photograph back on Jabari's dresser and stretched across the bed, enveloping himself in Jabari's lingering scent and closing his eyes. Mrs. Jones woke him 45 minutes later with a simple knock. He grunted. She knocked again, and this time opened the door, poking her head in. Dante bolted awake, flicking hard eyes towards her and yanking Jabari's patterned comforter over his lap. Reflex, though he was still dressed in his clothes from earlier. How are you feeling? She ignored his actions. Good. Good. Dante rubbed his eyes. Perfect. I made a list of places we need to go, so we're going to head over to the mall first to get presents for the book club ladies. Then the sporting goods store for my husband and the music store for Jabari. Last, we'll go to the grocery store. Is there anything you want me to cook for you tonight? No. Nothing in particular. Anything you'd like to cook works for me. Dante eased out of the bed, stretching and combing his fingers through his hair. You're sweet. I'll make anything for you, really anything you want. Since you can't be with your family, I want you to feel welcome here. Really. It's fine. Whatever you cook is fine. What was your favorite childhood dish? Did your mother cook anything in particular that you want me to recreate? Dante shook his head. I don't know what my mother cooked on Christmas Day. I've never met her. He inhaled a deep breath and sighed. Oh. I'm sorry. I'm over here prying and asking too many questions. She embraced Dante in another hug. Does my son know? No, he doesn't. Mrs. Jones nodded. Then I'll keep it a secret until you tell him. She rubbed Dante's shoulders. She did what she thought was best by you. I know. And I think she'd be quite proud of the man you are. Dante half chuckled, directing his gaze down. I know. I barely know you, and I don't know what kind of things you've done. We've all done bad things, but I can tell your heart is in the right place. I'm a mother. I know these things. We should get going. Dante passed the woman, checking his pockets for his keys as he stepped into the hallway. I know you love my son too, she replied. It's all in your face. I do. He paused. I won't tell him that either. Thanks. Let's get going before it gets late. He twirled the keys on his fingers and moved through the house, leading the woman to the rental vehicle. Jabari. Hay ended their last song with a flourish, and the choir held the final note until their voices quaked. Jabari packed his violin in its case and snapped it closed as a plump woman approached him. Her frizzy hair framed her face, and she rocked back and forth on her heels, between a sharp retort or an unrelated comment. Her button nose pointed to the sky as she parted her thin lips. Jabari held his breath. I wanted to invite you to the Christmas social Evan is having at his house on Christmas Eve. Oh, cool. Jabari picked up his instrument case as he stood up. I'd love to go, but I've got a friend in town, so I can't make it. He feigned disappointment as he tipped his head to the side, forcing an apologetic smile to his lips. Evan really wanted you to come. He's been wanting to meet your boyfriend Felipe, right? No. I ended it with Felipe 2 Christmases ago. Oh, well, it's really difficult to keep up with who you're dating. You go through men like crazy. Have you ever considered going to therapy? For what? Jabari blinked. For your relationship problem, obviously. It's clear you have a problem. When people go through a lot of relationships, it's because they're missing something inside themselves. Chloe nodded. You went to school for psychology? No, I'm just observing. Well, you know what? Thanks. Think about it. You sounded good tonight. Thank you. I've been trying to improve my piano skills, and I've been writing my own music. Next year I will be in a world-class orchestra. You already found one? No, I'm affirming my intentions. Once you speak something into the world, it will come into existence. Well, okay then. Anyway, I really gotta get home. I left a hot guy with my parents, and who knows if he's still there. How long have you known him? Oh, not long, but he's better than literally all of my old boyfriends put together, and he's not a mass murderer. I don't even think he owns a gun, and I don't think he's been in jail either, so this all counts as a win. Wow, you have terribly low standards. She giggled, covering her lips. It was all a joke. He ushered her to the exit. Except the part about old boyfriends. He is better than all of them. As far as the rest, really, I'm kidding. I have higher standards than that. Oh good. You know, I could hook you up with someone if your new guy doesn't work out. Thanks, but I think we're going to work out. I'll see ya. He wiggled his fingers and retreated to his parents' vehicle, whipping out of the parking lot before Chloe caught up to him. He arrived back at his parents' house in 15 minutes. The smell of mama-cooked comfort food greeted him at the vehicle, and Dante greeted him in the doorway. The man looked no worse for wear, and Jabari greeted him with a smile. Hi. How was practice? Dante's lips tugged into a smile as well. You know, practice was practice. Chloe was annoying as expected. Evan's hosting a Christmas party, and she asked me about a 2-year-old boyfriend. When is the event? Oh, we're not going. He squeezed by Dante, meshing their bodies together as he slipped inside away from the cold. Why not? Dante closed the door and tucked his hands in his pockets. The smell of dinner was stronger inside the house. Jabari's stomach rumbled as his mind divided the scents, and his mouth watered. He could place each individual dish, and it took him back to his childhood. He was 4 years old again as he stepped into the kitchen and saw his mother posted over a hot stove, and his father sitting at the kitchen table, eyeing his woman more than the food in front of her. Because it's on Christmas Eve and we have family rituals and you're here. I want to spend time with you, not with people from my childhood I don't even like. Jabari smirked. He pecked Dante on the cheek before approaching his mother and doing the same. What did you make? All your favorites, of course. Seasoned baked chicken legs, string beans, macaroni and cheese, and candied yams. No cornbread? She puckered her lips. Of course cornbread. Don't ask silly questions. Laughing, Jabari hugged his father around his neck. Hi, Dad. How are you feeling? I'm just fine. Great, actually, since I didn't have to spend all afternoon shopping with your mother. Oh. How bad was it? Jabari knit his eyebrows and turned to Dante, who had taken a seat across from his father at the table. It wasn't too bad. We only went to a couple stores. His mother raised her thin eyebrows. Don't let her fool you. When they got back, the poor man was covered with bags. Bags on his arms, bags in his arms. He had to make 2 trips to get everything out of the car. Mr. Jones exhaled in a heavy, rolling chuckle. I'm sorry. Jabari pouted, migrating around the room until he was in Dante's reach. He leaned against the man's chair, draping himself over him as his parents bickered about the shopping. Dante caressed his fingers in a light, unexpected touch, then lifted them to his lips for a kiss. I enjoyed shopping with your mother. Really? Spending time with a person who helped make you who you are today was a special treat. What did you guys buy? She purchased your gifts, gifts for your brother, gifts for your father, all season items on sale for the holidays, some pieces for the home that were also on sale, Dante trailed, shrugging. She enjoyed herself, and I think having me as company made her happier. Yeah, maybe. Most of the men I bring home aren't interested in Christmas shopping with my mother. Usually they're trying to convince me not to play the Christmas concert at all. Why? You love the Christmas concert. I really do. I guess it's because it's dated, and something I did as a child. I don't know. Are you going to come to it on Christmas Eve? I wouldn't miss it for the world. Perfect. Then you'll meet Chloe and her annoying boyfriend and all the nosy town members. How should I introduce you? How would you like to introduce me? Jabari chewed his bottom lip. Is it too soon for boyfriends when we haven't been on an official date? I think a day and a half in a vehicle, several meals together, and me having dinner with your family negates the need for an official date. Jabari nodded, tracing the neckline of Dante's shirt, calloused fingers brushing along his corded neck. Each little touch sent sparks through his fingers. Dante brushed his lips over Jabari's arm, freezing him in place as excitement coursed through him. Tell me more about your shopping trip. Did you get anything for me? Jabari flicked his eyes up to Dante. You want to know if I bought you Christmas presents? Yeah. Of course. I might have, but they're hidden now, and you won't know what I got for you until Christmas Day. Wait. Did you really get me something? I was kind of joking, I didn't expect. I bought you several things your mother helped me pick out, because she knows you very well. True. Do I have to get you something? Fuck. I have to get you something, and I don't know what kind of things you would like. Shit. I want our first Christmas together to be special. It is special already. Why? Because it's our first. Dante laughed, kissing Jabari's arm. I know, but I don't want you to have gotten me several things and I didn't get you anything. You don't have to get me anything. I bought things for you because I saw them and I thought of you. You can buy me anything that makes you think of me, if you want to get me something. Anything that makes me think of you. Yeah. No matter how useless or pointless it may seem. If it makes you think of me, then buy it. What if you don't like it though? I will. Dante touched Jabari's cheek, touching his thumb to the man's lips. I promise I will. Would you two like to eat in your room, JJ? Jabari's mother prompted, casting a patient glance towards Dante and a knowing glance towards her son. Jabari blushed. No. We can stay down here and have family time. Christmas is about being with family, so let's be with family. He moved from Dante's side, sitting between the other man and his father. His mother served them all, even as Dante insisted on helping. Jabari and his father, on the other hand, caught up on current events, discussing the dramatic weather changes, the pending winter storm coming through, and the town's public gossip. What do you think about your old friend Fiona changing her gender to a male? She's Fabio now. I probably would have picked a new name, but who cares if she wants to live as a man or a woman, you know? It's it's his genitals and he can do what he wants with them. What you think about the gender-neutral bathrooms then? Mr. Jones folded the newspaper and eased back in his chair, placing his hands on top of his hard stomach. I think if people went to the bathroom and focused on doing their business and washing their nasty-ass hands, they wouldn't have time to worry about all the trans men and trans women wanting to use the bathroom. Pissing isn't a political decision. Jabari shrugged. The older gentleman looked at Dante. Well, what do you think about both of them? The questions? Yeah, Jabari confirmed, resting his head in his hands as he regarded Dante's timeless features. His tanned skin glowed in the warm yellow kitchen light. Sharp cheekbones carved angles into his face. I think if it's important to, as they say, fix the outside to match the inside, then they should do what makes them happy. As far as gender-neutral bathrooms, it depends on the type. If it's one walk-in bathroom with urinals and stalls, I don't think society is progressive enough to be okay with men using urinals beside women using stalls. I mean, how would you feel if you knew a man could walk into a public restroom while your wife is inside? I'd like to think I wouldn't care, but I do think it would make me uncomfortable. In our society, that's a reasonable reaction too. With the prevalence of assault cases, there's no reason any woman should be comfortable alone with a man, even the ones familiar to her. Dante shrugged. I think gender-neutral bathrooms are a novel idea, but don't work in practice for social reasons. Well thought out. You're smarter than you look, Mr. Hernandez. Dante knit his eyebrows. Thanks, I think. You can call me Dante. That's fine. So, Dante, what kind of things do you do for fun? Honestly? I don't have a lot of free time. I'm mostly traveling for work, but when I get a free minute, I enjoy reading or fishing. I enjoy activities where I can relax. Fishing? Huh. You don't meet a lot of city people into fishing. I guess your father used to take you? Jabari's mother cleared her throat, clucking her tongue at her husband, who shrugged in return. Dante's smooth features fumbled, and he forced a smile back to his face. Actually, no. Fishing is something I picked up as an adult. We've got a reservoir about 30 minutes up the road. It's a good fishing spot. If you're around during the spring or summer, we can all take a little fishing trip. Dad, I hate fishing, Jabari lamented with a wavering sigh. His father chuckled. You and your mother. I remember when I used to take you and your brother out with me on Saturday mornings. Oh, you were mad as a hornet's nest every time. Because I hate fishing. Jabari laughed. And RJ loved it. He was always the good son. No, he wasn't. Jabari's father frowned. Neither one of you are good or bad, y'all are different, and it's okay, but you could have pretended to like fishing a little more than you did. This one here'll be real clear if he don't like something. Oh, I know. You should have heard him at the airport where we met. Nope, Jabari muttered. He can kick up a real fuss when he wants to. I like it though. Dante smiled, reaching across the table and stroking Jabari's arm. I like someone who can speak for themselves. He soothed. Jabari grunted, crossing his legs as he preened under Dante's gaze. Good. What do you do for work? It's a bit complicated, but I'm a farmer of sorts. I grow perishables and I sell them. You're a farmer? Jabari blinked. You have money. Of sorts, Dante corrected. I'm a farmer of sorts. And yes, I have money. The product I sell is very lucrative. Mr. Jones tipped his head in a nod. How long have you worked in this field? It's been over a decade. I started with a small farm, and I've expanded to several growing areas around the country. I'm actually walking into my peak season now. Winter? I didn't know plants grew in winter. Jabari wrinkled his nose. He tucked his hands between his thighs as he regarded Dante. Dante challenged everything he knew about farming. The man was charming and smelled like pine and sophistication, and farmers usually smelled like sunshine and hard work. Greenhouses. Ah. Jabari pressed a smile onto his face. And this makes you money. His father added the skeptical questions, scrutinizing every word out of Dante's mouth. It keeps me comfortable. I've invested over $2 million in mutual funds over the years, and I've branched out from farming to other money-generating projects. I've learned the key to success is having a passion. Dante paused and locked eyes with Jabari, and working lateral to the realm of your passion. Jabari's breath hitched. He couldn't hold the man's gaze. It burned too bright. It electrified his insides. Passion. That was the name of what brewed inside him and scorched the atmosphere between them. What do you mean? Jabari's father combed his beard. I mean, Dante sat up in his chair, resting both elbows on the table, you have to go for your passion, even if it seems weird or unusual, and then you have to develop a marketing strategy around what you're passionate about. For example, Jabari loves music. There are more ways for him to create an income from music than being in an orchestra, or whatever musicians do for money. He can teach classes, he can record original music for a variety of playlists, he can write music and sell it. Oh, you're one of those people who don't want to do any actual work. No, quite the contrary, actually. I love working. You've heard the phrase recreating the wheel, huh? Of course. I don't want to recreate the wheel, I want to polish it, but instead of chipping away at it with a nail and hammer, I want to create a various amount of devices to help me chip away at the wheel. And then when the next wheel comes to me, I can sit back and watch my devices work. Jabari smiled. You're doing more front-end work than back-end work. Yeah. And then I can move on to the rest of the car, and, eventually, have an automated car building service for me. The fun isn't in the finished product, the fun is in the development. Jabari smiled more. There was something about an intelligent and articulate man that turned him on. He squeezed his legs together as Dante continued talking about the automation process and the projects he had worked on. He mentioned something about perfumes, and something about selling seeds before his voice turned to a drone. Jabari focused on Dante's full, kissable lips. They were slightly chapped from the cold weather. His tan cheeks shared the same winter rosiness. His father and Dante talked about business through dinner, leaving Jabari and his mother as silent participants in the conversation. His mother chimed in with a question here and there. However, Jabari didn't bother. Dante's rhythmic voice soothed him until dinner was complete. Mr. Jones sat back, pounding his chest until a belch passed through him. "Slippers," he cried out. "What?" Dante quirked a dark eyebrow. "Oh my God, Dad. You're getting too comfortable." "Raymond." Jabari's mother fanned the air. "What slippers?" Jabari cupped his face, covering his eyes with his fingers, and sighed. "It's stupid. It's something he says to get out of saying, 'Excuse me,' after he burps because it slipped out." "Ah. Would you boys like dessert?" Mrs. Jones asked. Dante looked at Jabari. "I think I'm full, but thank you for the offer." "What's for dessert?" "I have cookies." "Okay, I want cookies, but I'm going to take them to my room." Jabari hopped out of his seat, stacking all 4 plates from the dinner table, and carried them to the sink, rinsing them before discarding them. He ripped a paper towel from the roll and laid it across the counter, piling it high with cookies and then wrapping the cookies neatly. He threw a glance over his shoulder at Dante, raking over his form and nibbling his bottom lip before he flicked his attention towards his parents. "Night, y'all." Then he breezed out of the kitchen, leaving Dante and his parents behind. Dante held his breath as Jabari left the kitchen. For the second time in one day he was alone with 2 strangers, one of which still stared at him with a discerning eye. The other had warmed considerably towards him, but she was still Jabari's mother, after all. Dante dragged his attention back to Jabari's father and ducked his head. Dinner was lovely. The older man laughed. "I bet it was. You're all right, you know. Couldn't stand the last couple men he brought home. I don't have a problem with gayness, but I got a problem when you don't have your life together." "I understand." "Good." Mr. Jones paused. "So, what are you still sitting here for?" "What?" "Oh. I don't know. I thought we were still talking." Dante's face warmed as he looked between them. "Should I join him? In his room? Y'all are both consenting adults, and it's his room. I don't see why you shouldn't." Mrs. Jones chuckled. "Oh. Well, if you'll excuse me." Dante bolted from his seat, knocking the chair back as he leapt out of it. He righted it again and pushed it under the table as he bowed to Jabari's parents. Thank you. Yeah." He darted out of the kitchen, following the hallway to Jabari's room and knocking on the door. It hung ajar, spilling soft light into the dim hallway, and Jabari's shadow danced along the walls. Finally. Jabari yanked the door open, pulled Dante inside his room, and closed the door again. "What took you so long?" "It was 5 minutes. Not even." "Sure. 5 minutes too long. What were you doing in there? Building a campfire? Talking to your father?" "Oh. Yeah. You know, he seems to like you actually. He hated all my last boyfriends." "Yeah, he mentioned them." "What did he say?" "Wait, no, actually, I don't care. Do you want a cookie?" Jabari slinked around the room and picked up a cookie from on top of a spread paper towel on his work desk. "They're chocolate chip." "I could eat one, yeah." "Then come get it." Jabari beckoned him closer, crooking his finger to Dante and curling it forward. His dark eyes glowed with mischief. Jabari was a spider, a black widow with its prey caught in its web. "Your parents don't care if I sleep in here?" "I mean? No. Where else are you going to sleep? The couch or something?" Jabari laughed. "Why the couch? We can't cuddle all night on that tiny thing." "I was going to sleep on the couch alone." Dante crossed the room, pausing in front of the other man. He braced himself with both hands on the edge of the table. "Why?" "Because it's polite." "Right, but why?" Jabari tilted his head, exposing the creamy skin on his neck. "I don't get it." "Because it's polite. It's a courtesy not to sleep naked next to someone when their parents are down the hall." "Oh. Like you don't want them to know what we're doing back here." "Precisely." It's okay. They definitely do their own thing at night. They're not concerned with us. Jabari chuckled, finishing the last bits of a cookie and licking his fingers. Dante darted forward and kissed his neck, pressing his lips into Jabari's smooth skin and drowning in his delicious taste. He tasted the winter sunlight and peppermint warmth from his velvety skin. Jabari chuckled again, shrinking into himself even as he curled into Dante. "Ee," he squeaked. "How are you feeling? I know it's been a long day for you, so we could go to bed." "I'm fine. I took a short nap earlier." "How about you show me all of your instruments?" Dante prompted. Jabari scarfed down another cookie and hummed. "You really want to see all of my instruments?" "Yes. Is that unusual?" "A little. I mean, we're in my room, alone. We could do anything." He ran his hands along Dante's chest, tracing the creases of his muscles with his slender fingers. "I want to see your instruments," Dante rumbled. His voice grew husky as Jabari teased him. It had been a long time since he'd been touched intimately, and all his repressed desires surged through him. Jabari knew how to touch, and he tipped his head just so, catching the light in his eyes and revealing new skin at the same time. "If you insist." His agreement was reluctant, but he slipped away from Dante and walked towards his closet. "Do you want me to play them too, or just show them?" "It's up to you. I have several instruments." He opened his closet door, exposing uniquely cut hard-sided cases stuffed behind the double closet doors and resting on the floor under old clothes. "I want to hear about them." "You sure about that?" "I am a musician, you know. I can talk about music all night if you don't stop me." "I want to hear about it, Jabari." "Okay, well. The first instrument I ever played was the piano, of course. I feel like that's everyone's first instrument." Jabari dug an electric keyboard out of the closet. "My parents sold the classic piano in the living room when I moved away. I used to practice in the living room on that one, with this old piano teacher. I'm halfway convinced every piano teacher is old with white-gray hair. It's their uniform." "You don't teach piano?" "He'll know. I hate piano." Dante chuckled, easing into a plush office chair covered in band stickers. He crossed one leg over the other and propped his elbow on Jabari's desk, smiling as the man dug in his closet for more instruments. "So, after like 100 years of piano, I switched to string instruments which I liked so much better. I started with the violin, and I've played others, but the violin is basically my favorite. It's in the living room, though." He waved a hand. "I have a guitar in here somewhere, because I played in a little garage band in high school." "Did you?" "It's a musician rite of passage," Jabari laughed. "I was the bass guitarist, and I was so emo. I used to wear nail polish and eyeliner, and everything. This is when I knew I wanted to be a musician, so I started taking steps in that direction. I applied to an arts high school, and I went there, and we learned all the instruments." Jabari handled each one of the stacked cases, showing Dante the instrument inside and explaining the basics. He glowed as he talked about his passion, laughing and talking a mile a minute about the differences between trombones, tubas, and trumpets, discussing wind and brass instruments. Dante listened intently until his desire for Jabari broke, and he reached for him, grabbing his arm and pulling him away from the overfilled closet and into his arms. "I wasn't finished with my explanation," Jabari pouted. "Do you know how beautiful you are when you talk about your passion? Most people find it more annoying than beautiful. So thanks." His cheeks flushed and his confident nature evaporated. Dante ran the backs of his fingers along Jabari's cheek. "I could listen to you talk about instruments and music all day. I'll never understand it, but I enjoy seeing you so radiant." "Ooh, okay." His cheeks darkened a few shades. "It's true." "Yeah, okay. Why'd you stop me?" "Because," Dante urged Jabari closer, supporting his chin as he guided him into a kiss. It started chaste, but Jabari had other opinions. He threw his arms around Dante's shoulders and leaned into him, devouring him through the kiss. Dante's cock throbbed between their bodies, leaking precum as Jabari continued the kiss. His lungs burned when Jabari pulled away, and he licked his lips. "More," Jabari demanded and captured his lips again. The musician took control, cupping Dante's face and sliding his hands over his body, enveloping Dante in his skilled touch. As smooth as he was otherwise, he fumbled under Jabari's experience, but with Jabari's guidance they stumbled across the room and collapsed in the bed. Jabari laughed. "Hi." He dragged Dante on top of him, hooking one arm over his bulky shoulders as he adjusted himself. He lined up the ridges of their cocks and rolled his hips into Dante. "I want you," he murmured. Dante's heart ached. He wanted Jabari too, and it was a new feeling. It felt right and true and perfect. He wanted to memorize the planes of Jabari's skin. He wanted to browse his tongue over every hill and valley, bury his face in his light curls of chest hair, and take deep, engulfing breaths of his natural cologne. "I want you too." "Cool." Jabari browsed his soft lips along Dante's skin, dipping his face in the crook of his neck. "How?" The tips of Dante's ears tingled. "Shish." Jabari kissed him, soothing his swelling worries. In a blur of movement, Jabari tugged Dante's shirt off, and Dante returned the favor, sweeping his hands over the newly exposed skin. His mouth watered, and his eyes widened as Jabari arched his back. Under the overhead lights of the room, Dante saw the other man's body clearly. He saw perked dark nipples and stretched, lean muscles. Jabari had an old scar on the left side of his body, a hazy diamond of curls in the center of his body, dripping down to his navel and exploding at the band of his jeans. Jabari's cock bulged under the fabric, lifting the band away from his body and creating a shadow. Dante groaned. "What have you done before?" "Not much." Dante fisted the sheets, keeping his attention glued to the outline of Jabari's thick cock. "What do you want to do?" "I want to taste you." Dante's request tumbled from his lips, and a shiver trickled through his body. He shuddered and palmed Jabari. "Okay." Jabari's belly hollowed, and he lifted his hips, brushing his jeans over Dante's lips. Dante rumbled and peeled Jabari's jeans off his hips, exposing his cock inch by inch. It was thick and long, with a shining pink head peeking through extra skin. He ran his lips along the underside, and his heart pounded in his chest. He'd waited for this. For years, months, days. His pulse pounded in his ears as he idly browsed Jabari's skin, inhaling his musky scent and tasting salt from his skin. He wanted to be in love the first time he tasted another man. He had lost relationships and friendships over it, because it hadn't felt right. But right now it did. It was the rightest thing he had ever done. His racing heart and Jabari's soft moans confirmed it. He needed those moans more than the air sailing into his lungs. "Dante," Jabari breathed, curling his fingers around the man's wrist and scraping his skin. "Yeah?" He paused, retreating. His mind fogged as primal desire crowded his thoughts, pushing reason to the far back. His own cock throbbed, wetting the front of his pants as he flicked his eyes up to Jabari. "And nothing." "As sorry, ah?" The musician trembled, tightening his fist around Dante's arm. He didn't urge him closer or direct him, but shivers racked his body. Precum dribbled from him, drawing a line from his slit to his mahogany skin and pooling on it. His cock jerked when Dante leaned forward again, and he groaned, rolling his eyes back in his head. Dante perused Jabari's length again, dotting kisses up to the head and laving his tongue back down to the base. He swirled his tongue over Jabari's slit, tasting his precum right from the source and wringing tired moans from the man's throat. Jabari wet his lips, sinking into the bed as his hips squirmed. "Ah. That feels so good. Why, you sure you haven't done this before?" "I'm sure," Dante growled. "Can I suck you?" "God, yes." Jabari moaned. With a nod, Dante wrapped one hand around Jabari's cock and sucked him into his mouth, hollowing his cheeks and pursing his lips as he did. His forehead wrinkled as he worked his mouth around Jabari. Jabari exhaled another moan, and Dante sucked him harder, spurred on by the verbal encouragement. He sucked and stroked Jabari until the man jerked and writhed, and finally exploded in his mouth with a desperate cry. He jerked his head back when the first jet of cum touched his tongue. Jabari's heavenly taste coated his tongue and dripped down his throat before he jerked away, and Jabari sprayed his face with the following bursts. Sorry. Oh God. Jabari covered his face. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I should have asked. It just kind of. Dante rumbled, wiping his eyes with a rolling chuckle. It's fine. He tasted Jabari from his fingers, and primal energy coursed through him again. While getting Jabari off, he had forgotten about his own excitement, but with Jabari's cum on his face and on his tongue, his cock raged in his jeans, desperate for stimulation. A delayed drop of cum leaked from Jabari as he lay prostrate across the bed. Ah. Dante toweled his face off with his shirt, panting as he watched Jabari. You taste amazing. Thanks. He looked at Dante's crotch before back into Dante's face. Can I return the favor? Dante swallowed and clenched his jaws. Yeah. His voice was featherlight as he replied, but Jabari leapt into action. He sat up and unbuttoned Dante's slacks, sliding a hand through his pubic hair and brushing his fingers along the shaft of his cock. Dante's breath hitched. Jabari paused and looked at Dante. You okay? Yeah. Keep going. Okay. Jabari sucked in a breath. I'm nervous. Why? Dante's excitement waned as Jabari's scent slowly evaporated from the room. Because I don't want to do too much. He chewed his bottom lip. I want to make sure you're happy. Oh. I'm happy. Dante pulled him into a kiss. I'm very happy, and I will enjoy whatever you do. Jabari's eyes darted around the room after the kiss. You sure? Absolutely. Okay. Okay, good. Soothed, Jabari reached for Dante's cock again, slithering his hand into the man's pants and wrapping chilled fingers around his shaft. They warmed quickly against his blazing skin, and Jabari stroked his length. Rough fingers against virgin skin. Jabari's touch was electric, and it sent sparks through Dante. Tell me what you like, okay? Yeah. I like what you're doing right now. Jabari squeezed him and moved his hand faster. He pushed Dante's pants down and eyed him. Dante was already sticky with pre-cum, and his skin shone with it. His cock rested in the groove of his hip and thigh, and Jabari lifted it, swirling his pre-cum back into the head of his cock. Good. A little smile. He stroked Dante, sliding his fingers over the head and then dragging them down to his base, milking more thick pre-cum from him, until he bent forward and passed his tongue over Dante's cock. Dante's hips bucked and he cursed. Fuck. His lips trembled over his words, and his eyes fixed on Jabari. He watched his cock disappear past the other man's lips, reveling in the pleasure until Jabari looked up at him. Their eyes locked. Dante's cock jerked. Another bead of cum, and Dante dropped back on the bed, covering his eyes with his forearm as Jabari sucked him. Jabari was skilled beyond belief, and his mouth, hands, and tongue worked together, sending insurmountable pleasure through Dante. The pleasure overrode everything. His mind went blank and his heart soared. Ah, fuck. His hips bucked, thrusting into Jabari's face. Jabari choked and jerked himself away. Sorry. You're fine. His eyes sparkled, and he wiped his lips clean, studying Dante when their eyes met again. Dante's heart turned over. Tension fluttered through him, binding his organs. Why, yeah. He stammered. You wanna fuck my face? Jabari's full lips gleamed with saliva, swollen from their combined arousal. What? Do you want to fuck my face? Fuck. Please, yes. Please. Dante sobbed, eyelids fluttering. They shifted positions and Jabari crouched on the floor in front of Dante, licking his lips as he eyed his cock. Red-faced, Dante inched to the edge of the bed, curling his toes against the hardwood floor and standing up. His cock bobbed in front of him, curving slightly to the left and smacking Jabari in the face. Sorry. Jabari chuckled. Feed your cock to me. Be rough, it's okay. You want me to be rough? Yeah. Jabari nodded. I really do. Dante debated it for a few minutes, looking down at Jabari. His eyes sparkled with hunger, and he licked his lips, swaying forward towards Dante's cock. Okay. Because you want it. He gripped his cock at the base and brushed it along Jabari's lips before pushing past them into his warm mouth. He pushed forward until he bumped the back of Jabari's throat, and then he retreated, doing it again. He moved his hand away from his shaft and rested it on Jabari's shoulder, bracing himself as he moved in and out of his mouth. It was natural, the thrusting movements, and Dante's speed accelerated as he grew comfortable with what they were doing, as he got used to seeing Jabari on his cock. He liked it. No, he loved it. He loved Jabari's mouth around him, and his dark eyes looking up at him. He loved his frustrated features combined with the hunger brewing in his eyes. He loved knowing Jabari wanted him. Jabari rested a hand on Dante's thick thigh, and his blunt nails sent pinpricks of pain through him, adding another layer of pleasure to what was already overwhelming. His orgasm rushed on him, spiraling through him. It burned as he held it back, and he arched on his toes. He wanted to climax, but he also never wanted Jabari's skilled treatment to end. See close, Dante croaked, his other hand raking over Jabari's hair. Jabari, I'm so close. The man's grip on Dante's thigh tightened, and he dragged him closer. As Dante delved into jerking movements, Jabari took over. He gulped Dante's cock down and cradled his sack. Dante's pleasure peaked. His muscles constricted. He thrusted forward, and his orgasm exploded from him. Each wave of pleasure ripped through him. His stomach hollowed and deep grunts rattled his throat. Phewick, he moaned, holding Jabari in place as he came. Jabari swallowed every drop. His Adam's apple bounced each time. More. He winked. Dante reeled backwards, stumbling back on the bed. Sec. Really? Jabari stood up and crawled on top of Dante, planting a hand on either side of him and lowering his hips until their bodies connected. Jabari nestled his hard cock against Dante's length and rolled his hips. Dante wet his lips, melting into the bed as Jabari climbed over him. Why yeah, he mumbled, cheeks flaming. He placed his hands on Jabari's hips, thumbs stroking the points, and his hands moved with the other man's body. He reacted too. His already spent cock stirred to life again, lifting off his stomach as a surge of pleasure went through him. I want one more nut out of you tonight, Jabari rumbled, lowering his body over Dante's. He framed Dante's face with his forearms and continued his slow movements until they fell into a natural rhythm. Jabari. On Christmas Eve, Jabari woke next to Dante and curled into his back, squeezing him around the middle and tucking his face in between their bodies. He reveled in Dante's heady, natural scent, enjoying several extra minutes of sleep as the winter sun crept into the sky. It had been a few days of non-stop family time and a few nights of exploring each other, until both of them were spent and exhausted. Dante had stamina and passion, among other things. He was also attentive and curious, in a way Jabari hadn't expected. Dante learned his sensitive spots and remembered his favorite touches. He listened. And as a bonus, Jabari wasn't sacrificing personality for great sex or great sex for personality. His parents adored Dante. Dante had snuck in a quick fishing trip with his father, and they had come back empty-handed but with wide grins on their faces. His mother had accepted the businessman into the fold, loading him with his favorite dinner dishes and dessert recipes every evening. The day before Christmas was the day of the concert, and Jabari wasn't ready. He had practiced. The group had practiced, but the stakes were higher. Dante was attending, so he wanted everything perfect. However, he couldn't control Chloe's consistently flat notes or old Mrs. Tedder's sharp notes and forced soprano key. Your heart is racing, Dante groaned, reaching behind him for Jabari's arm and wrapping it around his body. I was thinking about tonight. Jabari nestled closer to Dante, shivering as his cock pressed into Dante's back. Why? Haven't you done this concert for years? Almost 2 decades. Then why are you nervous? Because you're here, and tonight everyone's going to meet you. You're nervous about people meeting me? Dante rolled over in Jabari's arms. I'm nervous about you meeting them. What if they're annoying and they ask invasive questions? I'm sorry if they do. They might. Chloe's probably going to tell you all about how I was in high school, and it'll be mildly mortifying. How so? I was different in high school. Jabari shrugged. Okay, how so? He shook his head, rolling away from Dante and stretching. He tugged the chain string on his lamp and filled the room with dim light as he climbed out of bed. I don't really want to talk about it. Dante followed him, trapping him from behind and kissing his neck. I don't care about what you did in high school. I adore the person I know now, and nothing else matters. He administered Jabari another kiss. What time do you have to be at the concert hall? By 2 o'clock. The concert starts at 5. You really don't have to come if you don't want to. I would never miss one of your concerts. You'll get bored eventually. Dante kissed him. I won't. Believing Dante was easy. With his kind eyes and confident touch, he could believe Dante would be at every concert. He wanted him there. He never thought he needed it, but he did. He needed his partner to come to his events. Cool, Jabari choked out, stroking Dante's knuckles as he stared into his bedroom mirror at them. They looked good together. Dante looked good beside him. Good. Yet another kiss. I'm going to shower and get dressed. Once I drop you off at the park, I have to do a few errands. Errands? Really? Where could you possibly have to go on Christmas Eve? It's a secret. Dante kissed his temple this time and grabbed clothes from his suitcase before jogging out of the room. Jabari rubbed his hands over his body when Dante's warm touch vanished. He dressed himself in lounge clothes and darted down the hallway, sleepily greeting his parents and slouching down into a chair. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad, he mumbled. Ready for the concert today? His father prompted, flipping open the newspaper and scanning his dark brown eyes over the headline. I'm as ready as I'm going to be. Jabari reached across the table, grabbing a crisp white plate and piling it with seasoned eggs, grits, and brown toast. He slathered the toast in butter and bit into it. You know the drill. No practicing, no listening to sheet music. Take the day easy and you'll always win. I made that saying up, when you were getting too old for stories, of course. But do you remember what I told you? Sadly, yes. But I'm not going to repeat your ridiculous Santa Claus rip-off story. It was a good story, Mr. Jones protested. No, honey, it was really bad, Jabari's mother cut in with a playful grimace. Mom's right. It was a terrible story. Jabari continued with his breakfast, scraping his plate clean before pushing it away with a sigh. Is RJ coming tonight? He should be. He hasn't said otherwise. Jabari's mother shrugged as she posted herself next to her husband, rubbing the older gentleman's shoulders and kissing his temple. What time do you have to be at the park? Do you need me to drop you off? No. Dante's going to take me. He said he has errands to run afterwards. Oh. Jabari's mother smiled. Errands? Yeah. Errands. I don't know. He didn't say what he was getting. Jabari wrinkled his nose. Something for you, I bet. Maybe. What are you two going to do before the concert? What do you mean? Well, you don't have to be there for a few hours, right? Yeah, I don't have to be there for another 4 hours. His mother collected Jabari's plate and dunked it in the sink, rinsing it with cold water. Why don't you take him on a tour of the town? Jabari wrinkled his nose. Mom, I don't think he wants to tour this boring town. He might. You could show him the high school and take him to see the lights. It's daytime. You can't even see the lights right now. Well, then take him to the celebration in the Oaks. Jabari sighed, stretching across the table and throwing his head back on his shoulders. That has to be done at night, too. What has to be done at night? Dante entered the kitchen dressed in a full 3-piece suit, complete with a necktie and square-toed loafers, and Jabari's heart turned over in his chest. There was something about seeing Dante in full formal attire that set Jabari's heart racing, especially after the other evening, especially after intimacy. My parents were thinking I should take you on a tour of the town and to the Christmas in the Oaks light show. Before your music event? Jabari nodded, wetting his lips as his eyes dragged over Dante's form. His gaze lingered on the man's thick, rough hands and the heavy rings decorating his fingers. His skin buzzed, silently begging for Dante's explorative touch and his strong grip. Yeah. Sure. I have nothing else planned, of course. Oh. You're going to wear a suit to the event? Yeah. It's a concert, right? Yeah, but... And your friends will be there? Yeah. Then I want to make a good first impression on them. Unless the suit is too much? Jabari shook his head, flicking his eyes towards his parents as his cheeks warmed with a blush. The suit was perfect, and Jabari wanted to rip it off of Dante. He wanted to strip the other man down to his briefs and have another taste of his cock. His mouth watered for it. I should go get dressed, Jabari breathed. You should eat breakfast. Sure. As Jabari approached the kitchen exit, Dante reached for him, touching him around the middle and pressing a kiss into his temple. It glued his feet to the floor and blurred his vision. His eyelids fluttered. Thanks, Jabari replied, dizzy from the kiss. The word tumbled from his lips, and after he said it, he pinched his forehead, squeezing his eyes shut. Sorry. He wilted in front of the powerful other man. Don't be. You get dressed and show me around your town. With a nod, Jabari disappeared out of the kitchen. He rinsed the previous night's intimate festivities from his skin and dressed in a pair of jeans and a long-sleeved shirt. The jeans hugged his ass and the shirt clung to his lean form. As he washed his face and combed through his short hair, he listened to Dante's low, rumbling voice, paired with the familiar voices of his parents. The conversation between them waxed and waned with natural breaks and laughter, and it warmed Jabari's heart. They got along. Dante connected with his parents in a way none of his previous boyfriends had, and only now did he realize how important that connection was. When he returned to the kitchen, he sucked in a breath and shrugged his shoulders, sliding his hands in his back pockets. His father and Dante discussed football, while his mother urged more food onto Dante's plate, despite his laughing protests. After a wave of more laughter, Dante noticed Jabari at the door and did a double take before a smile spread across his face. I'm ready, Jabari announced, directing his statement to Dante. The man's eyes sparkled. Great. Shall we? Yeah. Dante finished his last bites of food and deposited his plate in the sink, thanking Jabari's parents for the breakfast and the conversation. His bulky body moved through the kitchen with patterned grace and a light step as Jabari led him outside to the rental car. Jabari tucked his instrument in the trunk and climbed into the passenger seat, buckling himself as Dante reversed out of the driveway. You really want to see the town? Sure. You grew up here. You love this place, so I want to see everything you love about it. And your mother tried to give me a third helping of breakfast. Your father asked if we were considering marriage. What? Jabari blinked. It was in passing. I told him it was our business. He really asked you if we were considering marriage? Why would he ask that? I'm going to tell him to stop prying. Dante shrugged. I already did. But it is an excellent question. What? Would you ever want to get married? I've honestly never thought about it. Turn left at this light. Jabari pointed. This street'll take you by all the schools. Really? Yeah. I mean, okay, I pictured a wedding because I used to love wedding cake, but the concept of marrying someone and being with them for the rest of my life sounded so daunting, you know? You haven't met someone you think you could spend the rest of your life with? Jabari shrugged and turned away from Dante, staring out of the windows as the man turned through a stoplight and settled in the far right lane. A newly paved sidewalk guided them to the empty school buildings. He chewed his bottom lip as he stared at the buildings. He hadn't met anyone he thought he could spend the rest of his life with, until he met Dante. Dante fit into his life seamlessly, like a puzzle piece he never knew was missing. At this point, he couldn't remember his life without Dante. He had been doing something, floating from location to location, but Dante rooted him. Dante grounded him in reality, but Dante's comfort scared him. It had only been a few days. He had never moved so fast in a relationship, but Dante was different. "It's hard to answer that," Jabari mumbled. "These are the schools." "It's technically 2 schools, but there are 3 buildings. The smallest down there and the middle building are elementary schools. They put the middle schoolers in the middle one, so they can get away from the babies and prepare for high school." "Ah. What were your schools like?" "Ah." Dante pursed his lips together. "Many different schools. Like, a lot of separate buildings. We used to have trailers behind the elementary, until they built the separate middle school. I went to many different schools. Your family moved a lot." "You could say that, sure." Jabari's features distorted. "What would you call it instead?" "I moved a lot." It's kind of the same thing. Anyway, these are the schools, so yeah. It's a good school system. When I have kids, I want them to go to school here." "You want kids?" "Definitely. I want 2. A girl and a boy or 2 boys." "Really?" "Yeah. I don't want 2 girls. It seems like so much work." "Fair enough." Dante chuckled. "What? What's funny?" "You haven't imagined getting married, but you have imagined kids." "Well, I work with them every day. I want to have musician kids. You know, like those whole families of musical geniuses." "What if your partner doesn't play an instrument?" "Oh, they can learn." Jabari smirked. "I'm an excellent teacher." His voice dropped to a purr, and he gripped Dante's jaw. "Haven't you noticed?" "Ah." The car paused in the middle of the street as Dante focused on Jabari, looking down at him through hooded eyes. "Wouldn't you think so?" Jabari's thumb traced Dante's lips. Dante kissed him. "Yeah. I think so. Maybe we should go over some of the steps you learned last night." "Jabari," Dante murmured, kissing the pad of his thumb again. "Tempting, but we're in public in broad daylight. There's no one around. Everyone's finishing shopping or getting ready for the concert tonight." Jabari replaced his thumb with his lips, devouring Dante in one solid kiss. Please?" he whispered. "You can't walk around in a suit and expect me not to want you." Maybe I did it so you would." Jabari wrinkled his nose, reeling back from Dante. "Did you?" "Maybe." Dante chuckled. "Later you can help me get undressed." "Later will turn into never. My parents have a Christmas Eve tradition." "Which is?" "We watch Christmas movies as a family until 12 o'clock on Christmas Day. Then we go to bed, they make a big breakfast in the morning, and we open all the presents. Every year. Every year. Without fail. Then I guess you won't be undressing me until after midnight. We can't break traditions." "Ah. Yes, we can." "No, we can't. Traditions are how you continue the family bond. I've broken the tradition before. But you won't this year." This time Dante pressed his smiling lips into Jabari's. "I didn't realize tradition was important to you, since you obviously had no plans of seeing your family for the holidays." Jabari picked at the threads of his sweater after Dante kissed his cheek, looking up at the other man through a shade of dark eyelashes. "I'm still not letting you break your family's tradition. I think it would mean a lot for your parents if we both attended whatever they had planned for this evening, so we will. I'm going to be too tired to do anything once we spend all night watching cheesy Christmas films. We can do something in the morning then." With another kiss, Dante continued his route, following Jabari's directions through the quaint little town and to the park. Dante. Dante climbed out of the rental vehicle once it rolled to a stop in front of an outdoor stage littered with people, and he opened the trunk, picking up Jabari's instrument case and handing it to him. The man blushed as he took it, and his eyes darted around the area before they focused on Dante. "Thanks," he murmured. Dante smirked, touching Jabari's chin. The chilly air had reddened his cheeks and the tip of his nose. Jabari's eyes shined brighter than the light layer of snow surrounding them. "You're welcome. So, I'll see you after the concert?" "Yeah. You'll be here for it, right? It starts at 6:30. "I'll be here. You have to come early, so you can get a good parking space, so we're not walking a mile back to our vehicle." "Okay." Jabari rocked on his heels, still cradling his instrument. "What is it? What errands are you going to run?" Dante chuckled. "You're nosy." "Yes. It's bugging me. What are you going to buy that you couldn't have bought with my mother the other day? You were already out with her, and you have to get something different?" "Yeah." "For me?" "For your whole family." "Oh. You're buying a gift for my mom." "Yes, Jabari. I'm buying a gift for your mother and your father and you. Do you have any more questions?" Jabari inhaled a deep breath and sighed, dropping his shoulders as he studied Dante's features. "Promise me you'll come tonight." "I already did, several times." "Promise again." "Okay. I promise I'll be here tonight. In fact, I'll be over there." Dante pointed to a specific tree draped with rows of lights. It was midway between the parking lot and the stage. "If you look there, you will see me." "Okay. You're going to be late for your practice." "Kiss me and I'll go." "In front of all your friends and neighbors?" "Especially in front of them," Jabari corrected, moving closer to Dante. He rested the violin case on the ground and grabbed the hems of Dante's blazer, pressing his hips into the other man's. Dante sucked in a breath, feeling Jabari's excitement through 4 layers of fabric. He rested his hand on Jabari's ass, cupping it as he tipped his head for a chaste kiss. He kissed Jabari's mouth and swept his lips along the musician's jawline. "I'll see you tonight." Jabari shivered under him. "Okay." When they broke apart, Jabari scrubbed his cheeks and passed Dante, jogging up to the stage. Dante watched him, studying his ass in his jeans. Dante's cheeks hollowed, and he wet his lips as the distance stretched between them. Jabari's features lit up as he connected with the familiar faces on the raised platform, and set up for their practice. The musician glanced back at Dante, issuing a little wave, before turning back to his conversations. Dante dipped back into the vehicle once Jabari had settled into the practice, and he spent the next several hours shopping. He stopped at several music stores, a record store, and a jewelry store, before stopping into the local florist shop. Wind chimes jingled as he pushed the door open a few minutes before closing time. A wavy-haired woman popped up from behind the counter. "Oh, I know you. The whole town has been absolutely buzzing about you. You're JJ's new friend, huh?" She dusted her hands off on her apron and strolled around the counter. "We've got some nice pre-made bouquets if you're looking for one to give him after the concert." "Ah, they're nice, but I can create my own, thank you." Dante smiled as he browsed the aisles of cut flowers. "A man who knows about flowers?" The woman grabbed her elbows. "I might expect it from JJ, but not from you." "Why not?" Dante plucked a rose from one of the containers and massaged the petals. "Fragrant but typical." He put it back and continued, clasping his hands behind his back. "Well, you just don't seem like the type." She shrugged. He nodded. "Well." He squinted, selecting 3 rich pink spray roses and 4 violet macara orchids. He bundled them together and tugged his lips down. Well, you shouldn't assume." He added lush red tea leaves, an assortment of blooming red roses, and contrasting green accents. "That combination is actually beautiful," the woman remarked as Dante bundled them together, adjusting the leaves and the foliage, highlighting the brilliant florals. "I know. Lord, If I didn't suspect an office was missing their manager, I'd hire you as a floral designer. How'd you learn so much about flowers? I grow them and I sell them. And these orchids, he smoothed the petals between his rough fingers, these are some of my favorites to grow. Oh, you grow them in your house? Dante offered a noncommittal noise. I'd like these, please, and then I'll get out of your way so you can close up. What time is it? She glanced down at her watch. Oh goodness. It's about time for the event in the park. I came in just before closing. I'm sorry, but I love flowers, so, Dante offered an apologetic smile. It's no problem. Who could hate flowers? I mean, sure, some people find them typical, but it's only because they don't know the different fragrances and meanings of them. She rang Dante up for his collection and swiped his credit card for payment. Would you like a vase or anything? I usually charge for them, but it's Christmas, and you and JJ are a cute couple. Actually, yeah. Thanks. Dante tucked the flowers under his arm and grabbed the vase. He nestled the clear vase and the bouquet of flowers on the back seat and returned to the park as dusk settled around them. Brilliant shades of red and orange illuminated the sky and reflected off of the snow. Multicolored lights decorated all the trees and bushes, and droves of people migrated from the parking area to the center stage where a small orchestra had set up behind a choir. Dante cradled the flowers as he moved through the crowd, posting himself at the tree they had selected earlier and craning his neck to the stage. As the sun set behind the trees, the winter chill seeped into his bones. A shiver racked his spine. When his eyes landed on Jabari, however, warmth filled him, radiating from the center of his body through his limbs and to his extremities. Jabari smiled as he tucked his violin against his chin and started the first carol. The orchestra and the choir were in perfect harmony. Neither overshadowed the other, and every musician had a love for music. It filled the atmosphere and made the show even more spectacular. Most of the onlookers hummed along to their favorite tunes, but Dante was silent. His eyes stayed glued on Jabari as the melodies continued. At a break in the carols, Jabari stood up from his seat and approached a microphone, adjusting it for his height. Hey everybody! How are you tonight? He addressed the crowd with glowing eyes and an easy smile. The crowd roared back. Cool, he winked. Well, I want to welcome you guys to our 17th annual Caroling in the Park event. We've got a few more songs for you, some solos, duets, you name it. So, if you haven't heard your favorite Christmas tune yet, hang tight. It's coming. He flashed another smile and picked up his instrument, launching into the first solo of the evening. He held the violin easily with one hand and strummed the bow over the strings with the other. Effortless. Deep notes filled the microphone and inched up slowly. He swayed with the music and his eyes lidded. After the first verse, the crowd sang along in whispered voices. They hummed and cooed the lyrics to Silent Night Ofki as Jabari played the melody on his violin. When the song concluded, Dante wiped moisture from his eyes and sucked in his breath. His heart ached in his chest. He loved the man up there. It was an undeniable fact, even if they had only recently met, even if they were as different as the sun and the moon. He didn't need months of dating to confirm what he already knew. He knew he wanted to spend the rest of his life next to Jabari. He wanted to be in the crowd watching his lover perform, whether it was at small-town annual Christmas events or on exclusive concert stages overseas. Jabari lived through music, and Dante lived through Jabari. The caroling continued well into the night, and Dante's emotions peaked, crested, and rolled within him. He needed the other man. He craved him like oxygen, but as sure as his love was, doubts brewed inside him. When the caroling ended, Jabari packed his instrument and bounded from the stage, leaping into his parents' arms. They had come, of course, and they fawned over Jabari, petting through his hair and kissing his rosy cheeks. Dante watched. It was the image of a perfect family. The type he had prayed for as a child. The type he had seen everywhere, but in his own home. He didn't fit. The realization weighed him down, and a knot grew in his throat. The crowd thickened, blocking his view of Jabari, and he bit the inside of his cheek, squeezing the bouquet in his hand. He turned on his heels, pacing the small area and looking on all the smiling faces around him. Everyone chatted because they were old friends. They had gone to elementary, middle, and high school together. Their children went to the same daycare. Their husbands worked together. He didn't fit in this puzzle. He fought through the collection of people on the way back to his vehicle, bumping shoulders with laughing strangers as he went. As he broke free of the crowd, something latched onto his leg. Little fingers dug into his pants. "Papa." She nuzzled her face into his leg. "Daddy said you were going to miss Christmas," he said. Dante turned around and blinked, looking down at a curly-haired little girl who shared his brown eyes and tan skin. "Excuse me?" The girl jerked back. Her confidence in her previous words dissipated, and her bottom lip trembled. Her cheeks had grown rosy from the cold, but now they reddened from a mix of embarrassment and fear. Dante's hard look softened, and he peered around the area. The place was littered with people, but no one was looking for a little girl. He bit the inside of his cheek and crouched down to her level, tucking his pants legs as he did. He set the bouquet of flowers on the ground next to his loafers. "What's your name?" She curled into herself, bright eyes widening. "It's okay. I'm going to help you find your daddy. Did he come here with you?" She nodded. "Did you listen to the carols?" She nodded again. "Good. How about we go back this way and look for your daddy?" "Okay," she squeaked. "Do you want to hold my hand while we walk back over there?" A third nod. "Oh. Do you want to hold my flowers too?" He snatched the bouquet from the ground and offered it to her. Shy eyes focused on the florals before giving him another wary gaze. "They're pretty," she said eventually, taking them into her arms and clutching them against her body. "Papa used to buy Daddy flowers all the time." "Yeah? Yeah. They love each other, and they're gonna be together forever." "Good for them." Warm to Dante, the little girl clutched the flowers in one hand and grabbed Dante's hand with the other, wrapping her fingers around two of his as he led her back towards the crowd. "What does your daddy look like?" "He's tall with brown hair." "That's," Dante paused, "very descriptive, sweetie. Do you remember where you were standing when you listened to the songs?" "Yeah. We were over there." She pointed towards the center of the crowd. Dante sighed and headed in the direction she pointed. "We'll find him." As they reached the crowd, Jabari emerged from it with a scowl on his face. His mother flanked his side, and his father carried his instrument. "I'm sure he's around here somewhere," his mother started. Her words cut off when her eyes landed on Dante. "Where were you?" Jabari's frown deepened. "You said you would. Wait, who's this? Do you have a kid?" "No. She's lost." "What?" Jabari squinted, breaking away from his parents and approaching Dante. His parents closed the distance left by him and floated away as Jabari's mother put her cell phone to her ear. She cupped her other ear, ducking her head as she mashed the device against her face. "I'll explain in a minute. First we have to find her parents. Have you seen anyone looking for a child?" Jabari shrugged, eyes bulging. "I haven't been looking for someone looking for a child. I've been looking for you. You found me. You're amazingly talented. Your rendition of Silent Night was beautiful." "Thanks." "So," Jabari rolled his eyes down at the little girl. "Oh," Dante pinched his forehead. "The flowers were for you." Now Jabari chuckled. "Thanks. Let's go back up to the stage. There are microphones and we can relay a message." "Yeah, okay. Good idea." Dante looked down at the girl. "Okay, we're going to go this way where you said your daddy was, and we're going to find him." "Okay." She bobbed her head. "'Kay. Can you give my friend the flowers?" "No. I want to hold them." "I know, and you've done a good job of holding them, but now you have to." Her eyes welled with tears and her lips trembled. Jabari squeezed Dante's shoulder. "It's fine. We'll worry about the flowers later. Come on. He took Dante's other hand and they formed a train through the crowd. As they reached the stage, a slender man rushed towards them, scooping the little girl into his arms. Oh my God. Amara. I told you to stay put. She jerked against him, fighting his grip. No. You're not my daddy. You can't tell me what to do. She towed off her designer sneakers, and they fell into the snow. She dropped the bouquet of flowers as she flailed her hands around. I'm sorry. The man winced at Dante and Jabari. I'm so sorry. Thanks for finding her. I hate you, she spat. Wyatt? Jabari tilted his head. Oh. The man's pale skin rushed with color. Hi. Jabari. Wow. It's been years. You two know each other? Dante picked up the discarded flowers, brushing the fluffy snow from the petals and adjusting the leaves. Yeah. We went to high school together. Jabari cleared his throat. We were on the debate team together. He was voted most likely to be a cutthroat businessman. Guilty. Wyatt struggled with the wailing little girl. I'm so sorry. Amara, please. Your father will be back in 5 minutes. I promise. He went to. Amara. A fourth voice spoke. The exhausted voice belonged to an equally tired man. He was clearly the lively girl's father. The winter weather had chapped his olive skin, and his monolithed eyes drooped as he looked at the squirming little girl. I'm here now. I found her in the parking lot, Dante explained. Thank you for taking the time to help. Amara's father picked up her shoes and fit them back on her feet, velcroing them closed before he casted a stern look to his daughter. You should apologize to Mr. Wyatt. He's been a nice host and you scared him. I don't care. He's not my papa. He can't tell me what to do. She kicked and flailed more, but the other man ignored it. It's okay. She doesn't have to apologize. I know this has been hard on her. Wyatt flushed even more. The man's stern features softened when he looked at Wyatt, but he nodded. I suppose. I'm sorry. Jabari, this is Lee. Lee, this is Jabari and? Wyatt flicked his eyes between Dante and Jabari. This is Dante, Jabari said. Amara finally calmed in Wyatt's arms. My name is Amara, she announced, stumbling over her words. Lee bowed. Thank you again. Really. It's no problem, Dante murmured. Anyway, we should get going. You guys have a good night. Wyatt, we should get together sometime. Catch up maybe. Jabari tugged Dante's shoulder. Sure. That sounds good. I'll be in touch. Wyatt nodded. Cradling the flowers, Jabari guided Dante away from the trio, prancing through the snow. Did the florist put this together for you? Jabari touched the red leaves and the purple orchids. No. I did it myself. The symbolism in each selection is important, and you're too special for a generic bouquet. Dante ran the small of his hand down Jabari's back. Sweet. But I'm waiting for an explanation as to why you weren't where you said you would be. I looked for you and I couldn't find you. Dante cleared his throat. Correct. I had gone back to the parking lot. Why? Jabari wrinkled his forehead, flicking his eyes up to Dante's face. Because, Dante rumbled, closing his eyes as he tried to work out his explanation. His shoulders lifted and sagged again, and he exhaled a gust of breath. Because I don't belong here. I don't get it. You're sweet. I mean, I have no family. When I see you with your mother and your father, and you look so happy, I never had any of that. I don't have it. And seeing you. Seeing me what? When they reached the vehicle, Jabari leaned against it and grabbed one of Dante's hands, threading their fingers together. I don't know how to be a family man. You want a family and children, and I can't be that man. I can't live in this town and have my children know the same kids from elementary to high school. I mean, if you don't like this town, we don't have to live here. Jabari's eyes trailed around the area. Dante grunted. It's not about the town, Jabari. It's about you not thinking you're good enough. Jabari bit his bottom lip, tickling Dante's palm. Listen. I don't know what you've been through. I mean, I've heard horror stories about people in foster families, so I can only imagine, but I love you. Dante's heart ached at those words, and he finally let hope blossom inside him. Even after just a few days. Jabari yanked him into a kiss, roping his arm across his shoulders. The pointed leaves tickled his neck, and the fragrant florals filtered through his nose. Jabari's cologne mingled with the florals, taunting him, exciting him. He pushed the musician against the side of the vehicle, planting his hands over Jabari's shoulders. I love you too, Dante murmured against Jabari's lips before sealing his over them. He kissed the other man until they were both breathless and gasping for air. When he retreated, he browsed his lips along Jabari's jawline, dotting kisses down the slope of his neck, until layers of fabric blocked his path. Jabari chuckled, turning his head to the side and arching his body into Dante's. My parents love you too. You're as much a part of our family as I am. Jabari accented his words with a kiss to Dante's cheek before relaxing against the side of the rental car, fixing Dante's collar and tie. Dante scoffed. I'm a stranger you brought home. I'm not part of your family. Bet. Jabari smirked, pecking Dante's nose. Your family. And if you and I don't work out. We're not going to not work out. Jabari released him and climbed into the passenger side of the vehicle. My parents are probably already at home setting up the movies for tonight. Oh, he snapped his fingers, my mom wanted to know what size shoe you wear. Why? Well, because she makes us knit socks every year and she wanted to make you a pair. I told her like 12. 13. Oh. Huh. Well, you'll just have to stretch them out a bit. It's fine. Jabari waved a hand as Dante left the parking lot. Doubt stayed in the back of his mind, snaking through his thoughts even while Jabari chatted animatedly about the movies, the snacks, and Christmas dinner. His mind prepared him for the end of the facade, convinced they would arrive home to an obliterated house, or worse, angry and vindictive adults. They arrived back at Jabari's place, and the quaint little house was just as they had left it. Dante parked the rental car beside Jabari's mother's little sedan and followed Jabari into the house, holding his breath as he ascended the steps and as the door creaked open. His heart pounded, and his entire childhood flashed through his mind. There had been countless Christmases with no trees and no gifts, and even more Christmases where there were trees and mountains of gifts, but none for him. His muscles shuddered under his skin. The musician reached for him, grabbing his hand and latticing their fingers. His thumb rubbed the back of Dante's hand. Dante's brain fogged as he stepped over the threshold, down the shallow hallway and into the living room. Fresh baked goods filled his nose alongside the artificial scent of evergreen and the sharp scent of peppermints. Jabari's mother and father greeted them with tight hugs. Oh sweetie, bad news. Jabari's mother said as she ushered Dante towards the refreshments. What? Apparently, while we were caroling, the news put out a winter weather warning. That's why your brother missed the caroling today. He should be around soon, but I think his client is demanding him stay put. For safety. Oh. Well, that's fine. Dante's here. And as long as RJ is safe, everything is fine. He's safe. He's going to call us back if he gets on the road. Otherwise, he's staying at his client's house. He's safe there. I wish he could be here, but, Jabari shrugged, weather is weather. Dante nibbled a piece of peppermint bark. Is it good? Jabari's father prompted, tipping his head to the red and white chocolate chunks. Yeah. It's good. I like it. Is it your favorite dish? Should we make it next year? The older man continued. Dad? It's too soon to talk about next year. Dante finished the bark, chewing and swallowing with a strained gulp. Oh, I forget. You children hate planning anything in advance. Well, if you do decide to come this way, we'll have peppermint bark for you. Thanks. Dante coughed. We have another tradition too. When my boys were little, They couldn't sleep at all on Christmas Eve because they were so excited about the next morning. After a few years of not getting any sleep Christmas Eve, we decided to let the boys open one present the night before and leave the rest to the next morning. "Dad," Jabari whined, "we don't have to continue the tradition. I can sleep tonight, I promise. Your mother and I like the tradition. We like seeing your face light up." "Ah. Fine. Oh, and Dante, we got you something too." Jabari's father passed Jabari a small box, and then passed Dante a box of similar size. "Thank you. You didn't have to get me anything. We know, but we wanted to. Go on. Open up." Jabari's father wrapped his arm around his mother's waist, stealing a kiss as the two younger men looked down at their boxes. A river of emotions ran through Dante. A present. Someone else besides coworkers or casual boyfriends had thought enough about him to buy a present for him. Unprompted. Fingers thumbed the ribbons, loosening them and then breaking into the wrapping paper. Dante picked a little box out of the mess and popped it open. Cufflinks. They sparkled with set diamonds and curved into the shape of a 5-petaled flower. "There," Dante cleared his throat, "they're beautiful." He smoothed his fingers over the glistening diamonds, turning them in his hand. "I know they're not much, but we wanted to get you a little something to open too," Jabari's mother explained. "They're beautiful," Dante exclaimed a second time. "I love them. Thank you." Jabari raked his fingers across Dante's shoulders. "You should wear them to your next business meeting." "Oh, I will." He kissed Jabari's cheek. "Open yours." Jabari. His parents had bought him a travel notebook, complete with ledger lines for music notes and wide margins for lettered notes. After he opened his gift, the four of them settled into his parents' well-worn couch. Dante and his father sat on the far ends, and Jabari and his mother sat on the inside, leaning into their men. Jabari rested his head on Dante's chest, drifting in and out of sleep as he listened to his steady heartbeat and the low hum of the television. Dante shook him awake hours after the last movie ended, and his parents had gone to bed. He felt Dante's rough hands on his face, and the fog of sleep dissolved as Dante's cooing voice woke his brain. Jabari groaned, snuggling into Dante more. He hid his face in the crook of the other man's armpit and dipped into sleep again. "Baby. Wake up. It's Christmas morning." Jabari mumbled. "Do you want to see what I got you?" After a few beats of silence, Jabari twisted around in Dante's arms, relaxing into the couch next to him. "You didn't have to get me anything." He yawned. "I know, but I wanted to. Open your present, and then we can go to your room and go back to sleep." It's the solid-colored one." Dante pointed to a gift that hadn't been under the tree the night before. "Wah." Jabari knuckled his eyes. "I had your parents hide it for me." Jabari huffed as he eased out of Dante's lap and wandered over to the present, unraveling the bow and undoing the wrapping paper. He was too old to rip through it and too sleepy to protest any further. As he peeled the wrapping paper back, the last claws of sleep released him and his eyes grew wide. Whoa. Oh my God. A collection of smaller boxes sat inside the larger one, wedged next to each other in an economical fashion. The first box sat open and housed a braided leather bracelet with an understated but utilitarian clasp. The next box was a far less understated wristwatch with a brilliant blue face and a brown leather band. Jabari bit his lip. "You didn't have to get me anything." "I know. Keep going." Dante smirked. "You haven't even gotten to the good stuff yet." "Damn." Jabari fished out a flat rectangle box and opened it, revealing a sleek black laptop computer. I have a computer already," he scoffed. "I heard you complaining about it to your parents. This one has top-of-the-line everything." "Yeah, but..." "Keep going. I can't accept this. The bracelet and watch are fine, but a computer?" "Dante. A computer?" "Yeah. You need it, and I gave it to you. It's too much." This must have cost a fortune. Hardly. A couple thousand. Jabari blinked. A couple thousand is a fortune. No, it's not. There's one last thing in there for you. It goes with the notebook your parents bought. I can't look. Just tell me. All right? I went to the music store, and I purchased you the best music software available. It goes with the computer. So now you can start composing with good software, instead of whatever you were using before. Oh my God. Oh my God. Jabari covered his mouth. Oh my God. He looked between the items and Dante, before launching himself from the ground and into the other man's arms. Thank you. I love you, Dante murmured, kissing Jabari's cheek. And I want you to go after your dreams. Jabari buried his face in Dante's neck. Tears welled in his eyes and his eyebrows knit together. He tried to hold the tears back, but at Dante's sweet words, they fell. Thank you, he whispered again. You're welcome. I still didn't get you anything. I can't spend. Shush. You did get me something. Dante scooped Jabari's willowy frame into his arms and stood. Ah. No, I didn't. I have you and your family. That's the only Christmas present I need. Dante carried him to the bedroom, pushing the door open with his shoulder and depositing Jabari on the bed. Oh. Yeah. Dante closed the door behind him. Well then. Merry Christmas, Poppy. Jabari chuckled, peeling his shirt over his head and kicking off his lounge pants. His cock had been at attention, but his brain caught up as he stared at Dante's muscular frame in front of the door. Watching him, he realized that Dante was his. They had never had the conversation, but they didn't need to. Every fiber in Jabari's being told him they were meant for each other. They fit together, they supported each other, and they complemented each other. Are you going to enjoy your gift? Jabari prompted, gripping the base of his cock as it dripped pre-cum on his belly. Dante's nostrils flared, and his eyes hooded as he surveyed Jabari's body. Absolutely, he rumbled and crossed the room to the bed. He dove on top of Jabari, lapping the pre-cum from his mahogany skin, and then passing his tongue over his cock, starting at the base. He ran the flat of his tongue over Jabari's fingers, as he sought out the swollen head of his cock. Once he found it, he sealed his lips around it, cheeks hollowing, and he flicked his eyes up to Jabari's face. Dante's gaze sent chills down Jabari's spine. His eagerness excited Jabari more. The man loved every second of what they were doing. He wasn't pacifying Jabari or checking off boxes before he could get what he wanted. He was already getting it. Dante explored every inch of Jabari's body, like a settler charting new land. His hands, lips, and tongue swept over Jabari's skin, leaving a trail of goosebumps behind. Dante brought him to 3 climaxes before easing him onto his stomach and rooting inside him. He took another, and then they both collapsed into the bed with racing pulses and a temporarily sated hunger. Jabari woke up hours later curled around Dante, embracing him from behind. Dante's ass nestled against him, and he forgot about the 4 orgasms from earlier. His body begged for a 5th round, but he pushed those desires back and kissed Dante's cheek. Merry Christmas. I love you. Jabari murmured, squeezing Dante closer as the other man roused from sleep as well. He cracked his eyes open, and his long eyelashes kissed his cheeks. Love you too. Jabari rolled his hips. How are you feeling? Dante reached behind him, squeezing his thigh and chuckling. You're insatiable. For you, yeah. Are you going to deny me? Jabari, he rumbled, adjusting the blankets around them. It's mid-morning. So? We have to eat breakfast, and you have to open the rest of your presents. He massaged Jabari's thigh. I don't care about them. I want you. Jabari nuzzled Dante, kissing his shoulder. Breakfast. Now. He slipped out of the bed. You go get cleaned up. What about you? Jabari rolled over, arching on his back and peering at Dante. I showered after you fell asleep. The man tugged on a long-sleeved shirt and a pair of lounge pants, slipping bare feet into cushioned house shoes. "Get cleaned up. I'll see you in the kitchen." Dante exited the bedroom, leaving Jabari to his thoughts and the lingering after-sex smell still taunting his nose. Jabari reluctantly showered, rinsing away Dante's scent, erasing the pattern he had charted over Jabari's skin. He dressed in a sweater and fitted joggers, pulling slouching socks over his feet, and tramped down the hall, following soothing voices and inviting scents. Epilogue. 5 months later. I'm excited about our deal too, Sheila. I can't wait to send you a sample of my favorite flowers. I'll have my secretary prepare something for you this afternoon. That sounds great. I know it's a little late for the bulk of wedding season, but do you have some baby's breath you can send over? I'm running low. I'll have my secretary check on that too. Thanks. Oh, so how are you and Jabari? I forgot to mention the bouquet you gave him. I made it a signature sample here. It's one of the local favorites. Ah, so you're stealing my ideas, huh? Dante smiled. It's not exactly like yours. Sheila protested. It's fine. I don't care. It's a good combination. Anyway, Jabari and I are doing well. He's got a concert tonight. He's been preparing for it for weeks. A concert already? Isn't it a bit soon? Yeah. Apparently, some place had an opening and they contacted him. He didn't want to pass up the opportunity, so he went ahead and took the slot. Ah. Well, I hope everything goes well. So when's the proposal? Excuse me? Dante tucked the phone between his head and his shoulder as he climbed into his luxury sedan, starting the engine and merging onto the highway. When are you proposing to him? Dante grunted. Oh, come on. The whole town wants to know. Are you really going to keep us in the dark? Yeah, because it's not any of your business when I propose. It'll be a local wedding. That's all you need to know. As long as I'm in charge of all the arrangements, I don't care. I'll give you a good price too. You better. I'm your supplier. The drive from Dante's office to the concert hall was short, and he turned into the covered parking garage. Ah. I'm glad you two are doing well. Thanks. My secretary will contact you. Okay. See ya? Bye. Dante ended the call, shaking his head as he parked his vehicle and climbed out, adjusting his blazer and his tie. He followed droves of other concert attendees to the concert hall's entrance and through the building, taking a program and finding a seat towards the middle of the auditorium. He reviewed his menu until the lights dimmed and the concert started. Beautiful classical music played by Jabari and his colleagues filtered through the room, moving the audience to heightened emotions, whether they were joy, sadness, or anger. The orchestra received a standing ovation at the end of the concert. Jabari glowed under the focused lights, bowing at the waist as the rest of the musicians bowed as well. The musician searched the crowd, and his already glowing smile stretched further across his face when his eyes landed on Dante. He waved to him. Dante blew a kiss. He lingered in the concert hall until the people cleared out, until it was the performers, their loved ones, and Dante. From a private door, the musicians left, chatting and laughing. Dante's nerves spiked. He dug his hand in his pocket, thumbing over a square box as people passed him. His heart jumped in his throat. Their relationship had been a whirlwind. An impromptu car ride, a fairy tale Christmas, and then the most magical 4 months of Dante's entire life. He had been nothing before Jabari, and he would be nothing after him. He didn't think that kind of love existed, but waking up next to Jabari every morning made his life worth living, made his money worth having. Without financial worries, Jabari's career soared, and Dante had been on the sidelines cheering him forward. He had attended every concert, and waited backstage afterwards. Tonight was like any other, except for the ring weighing down his pocket. As the doors opened and closed, his nerves grew, until Jabari finally emerged from the private entrance doors, carting his instrument in one hand and a wad of sheet music in the other. Sorry it took so long. The conductor was a talker, Jabari started, handing Dante his instrument and shifting the music in his hands. You were wonderful. Nah. I made tons of mistakes, actually. This wasn't my best night. You were wonderful, Dante repeated, setting the instrument down. His pulse pounded in his ears as he dug the ring box out of his pocket and crouched. No, seriously. It wasn't my best. If this had been an audition, I definitely wouldn't have gotten a call back. Lucky for me, it wasn't. He continued, ignoring Dante as he waved to a few other musicians. When he turned back, he furrowed his eyebrows. You okay? Yeah. Perfect. He popped the box open, exposing a sparkling engagement ring, housing all of Jabari's flair in an understated but signature design. Will you marry me? Dante's voice cracked. Jabari's eyelashes fluttered. Wow, he whispered, taking the ring box into his hands and surveying it. He covered a wide smile, and his eyes danced as they glossed with moisture. He fanned his cheeks as he looked from the ring back to Dante. Yeah. Yes. Jabari grinned, biting the meat of his bottom lip. He studied the ring again. The glitter shined in his eyes before he jumped into Dante's arms, planting a kiss on his mouth.